So, as everybody knows, Michael Jackson has a very successful, going to be, could be very possible, one of the most successful biopics of all time. Okay. Already the most successful music biopic of all time. But now it's contending with Oppenheimer, which was a pretty big contender. I mean, Oppenheimer had it had a super A-list celebrities all up in there. I mean, Oppenheimer was at the top, and this new Michael Jackson biopic could surpass that. In my opinion, more than likely it will before it's all said and done. And even if it doesn't, I mean, crazy amounts of feats have been accomplished with this Michael Jackson biopic. All right, y'all let me know in the chat room. Y'all let me know if you guys have seen it, because I'm not going to try to spoil it, but there might be spoilers. Oh, I thought BX was in here. That's interesting. All right. Torian says currently over 800 million globally. Okay. It has to release in Japan, and it hasn't even released in Japan yet. More than likely, it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to overpass it. It's going to be the biggest, most profitable biopic of all time. All right. And they kind of already knew that was coming. They knew it was coming. They know the love for Michael Jackson has never died down, especially when it comes to our community. And this is starting to become big because we're starting to see a lot more people who are kind of like, they were fans of Michael Jackson. Now they're like in love with Michael Jackson. All right. There's songs that Michael Jackson wasn't super popular. The song Chicago, that's all over TikTok. Everybody's making TikTok edits and versions and stuff like that, and collabs of Michael Jackson all over social media. The movie released almost 2 months ago. Almost 2 months ago, that movie has been out. I think it's actually been 2 months since the movie has been out. Okay. And look, that movie's still crazy numbers. It came out on April 4th. It's, what? So it's been a month. Okay. It's been a month. It's been a little over a month since that movie has came out. Right. So movie's doing great. And notice that when the movie came out, before we saw it, of course, critics saw it. And what critics was like, oh, they gave it a very bad score. They gave it a terrible score. People still went to see it. Now, the general audience loved it, gave it an excellent score, but the critics, they didn't like it. Okay. And then what people noticed that, okay, the critics, they gave Leaving Neverland, which was a slander piece trying to allege that Michael Jackson was a predator, they gave that a good score. But the critics are giving the Michael Jackson biopic a bad score. And one of the notable things in the Michael Jackson pick is that it didn't even touch on the false allegations that he had. It never even touched on it. It didn't imply it. It didn't hint to it. It didn't touch on it at all. If it did, I'm pretty sure the critics would have gave that a better score. If they did try to imply that, I'm for certain that the critics would have given that movie a better score if they threw a little dirt on Michael Jackson in that movie. But they didn't. And that's one of the things that we could appreciate. I'm glad that didn't. They didn't put any of that nonsense in there. I'm glad. I'm happy for it. I was able to fully enjoy the movie without wondering like, oh, here comes that fake rumor again. They didn't even try it. And I'm glad. I'm happy about it. Right. So I'm bringing people up in a little bit. So then here comes Netflix. This is coming this is going to come in about like a week. Yeah, about a week from today. Well, Netflix has their own documentary called Michael Jackson, The Verdict. And in this documentary, a lot of people are suspecting that they're going to really dive into not who he was as a person, not the mind behind the music. They're going to get into the verdict. And the reason why they're breathing life into the verdict is because they're going to try to bring up a lot of the rumors of Michael Jackson and slander Michael Jackson again. They're going to bring the family members who would lie, say he didn't do anything, but then say he did do something when they're adults, then say he didn't do it, then say he did do it. They're going to bring them back. It's going to be Leaving Neverland 2.0. That's what a lot of people are suspecting this is going to be. And a lot of people I've already seen are saying that they're going to cancel their Netflix subscription if they even release this. They're not even going to watch it and then cancel it. If they actually go through with releasing this documentary, they're going to cancel their Netflix because of that. And this is making a lot of people think, why is it that Michael Jackson, why do they keep trying to do this with Michael Jackson? Why is it they keep trying to dethrone Michael Jackson, keep trying to slander Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson's been gone for a very, very long time. And they won't let Michael Jackson rest in peace. Okay? They keep trying to beat Michael Jackson. Even though Michael Jackson's not alive today, they keep trying to beat him. They keep trying to say, oh, is somebody else the new king of hip hop? They don't do that with nobody else. They don't do that with rock and roll. They let Elvis be the king of rock and roll unchallenged, uncontested. They've never tried to pull is this the new king of rock and roll? They've never tried to dethrone Elvis or do any of that stuff or make documentaries putting a bad light on Elvis. They only speak on Elvis in a positive sense. And yet they do that with Michael Jackson all the time. Is Henry Styles the new king of pop now? They only do that with Michael Jackson. I'm going to let people come up in just a second, and I'm going to let y'all weigh in. The reason why is because Michael Jackson is very inspirational. I'm not going to lie, when I left the movie, I felt a little inspired, honestly. I felt motivated. I felt inspired. And the fact that this movie's coming out, you got a whole bunch of TikTok edits and things like that of Michael Jackson, old clips of Michael Jackson interviews coming up. They don't want that. They don't want Black Americans to look at that and draw inspiration from that and draw some motivation from that. They don't want a repeat of Michael Jackson. And they don't want a repeat of Michael Jackson, not just because of how talented he was, because of Michael Jackson's mind. They don't want a repeat of Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson was more than just a super phenomenal performer and an artist. Michael Jackson also was a businessman, and they don't want that part to be replicated. They don't want that part to be copied. All right? They don't want that part of Michael Jackson owning things when he owned the Beatles catalog and he was owning things in Sony and he was owning movie rights and things like that. They don't want that part. They don't want you to get into that part where you're just as talented and you have the business acumen to where you can manage yourself. Okay? And you can put other people on. You can put your family on. Michael Jackson, if you've seen the movie, knows, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but he pretty much carried the family for the very most part. Even when he was a child. I mean, you know, and I'm not talking about they're not talented, because they are. But like, even as a child, you know, he pretty much carried the Jackson 5. And that's not even me being a fan. Come on, who's going to deny that, really? They don't want that. They don't want another Jackson 5. They don't want another Black American dynasty to come out into entertainment where they supersede everybody that was before them. It's never been done before. Okay? They don't want that. And then you see people in the chat room, you have the, you know, suspected supremacists. They're mad. Michael Jackson's not all that good. See? And they're mad for a reason. They're mad because there's no Caucasian version of Michael Jackson. There's no white tee version of Michael Jackson. This is what they don't want. This is why they keep trying to put this filth that we all know is a lie. They keep trying to put this filth on Michael Jackson. to slander him in our eyes. While they still profit off his music, they still profit off his likeness. Okay, this is
But
why,
you
y'all,
see,
and I
you
want to
see,
know
guys.
what y'all think about that. VX,
Yeah.
did you see the movie?
I don't plan on seeing it. No, no.
Oh
I have
wow.
my memories of Michael Jackson. I don't. I'm not a movie person. Let me start there. If isn't the real thing, then I don't want to be bothered. However, no, I'm not going to see Michael Jackson's movie. I love his songs. I love his music. I love his life. I believe he was unalive purposely. Like, I don't think I need to go to the movies to prove I'm a Michael Jackson fan. I don't even need to go to the movies to talk about the discrepancy here I have with Abraham in the chat. I love Michael Jackson. Janet turned down being in the movie, didn't she? If Janet ain't co-signing it, neither am I. Nah. But y'all go ahead and have y'all dreams and stuff. I remember the real Michael Jackson. So this is what I want to say when you put up Michael Jackson, the verdict. I don't have Netflix. Haven't had Netflix in a while. I'm not going to just get Netflix or borrow a password to see some mess. I don't even know if they're going to be on his side or the other side. So I'm just not interested in tearing down Michael Jackson at any way, shape, or form. I wish his family well who had decided to be in the movies. I believe his nephew did play the role of Michael Jackson. I think that's beautiful. But I'm not
Mm,
going to sit my ass in the seat to see Michael Jackson. I think that they target Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson, they could say his name and everybody see the tip of his shoe and white tee people start falling out all across the globe. All you see is white tee people falling out over Michael Jackson. The man's presence alone was powerful. So in order to diminish that, they have to put all types of labels and jackets on him. But I believe it's coming out that he was protecting the children from you know who list, the Stein list. I don't think I can say the real Steen list. You know what I'm saying? Where all the
mm.
white tea people are getting caught on this list. There was an island. Yeah, they are saying that he was actually keeping the kids from going or being a part of that list. So I love Michael Jackson, and me going to see a movie or not doesn't mean that I don't support him or I'm gonna go along with the get along like Abraham is trying to make me think. Michael Jackson did not have the mind of a child. He had a rough childhood, so yeah, he liked to do things like adventure park. He loved animals, so he had a couple of pets in the zoo. He had so much money. Shit, what would you do if you had his money? We don't know. Don't tell me he had the mind of a child, but he beat out the Beatles, buying their catalog, and did some other stuff, right? Okay, and he had enough. Oh my God, he had enough sense to start the Stop the World Hunger campaign, or We Are the World. That stuff that called attention to Africa and their hunger crisis. So don't tell me that man had the mind of a child. He loved people and he loved children, and he did his best to protect and feed everybody. And he broke barriers for MTV. He got black artists on MTV when they was locking us out. Let's not do that with Michael Jackson. So I can still defend Michael Jackson without seeing the movie Afro. I just choose not to go.
I just asked
Yeah.
because I wanted to get your opinion of the movie. That's
Oh,
why.
I don't have one. I couldn't have one. But I don't like the way they be dragging Michael Jackson's name. And guess what? Black Americans said first his children was white tea. Abraham, you ain't telling us nothing new. Abraham came up here. Did you see his comment?
Oh yeah, I
Michael
know. That's why I
Jackson's
brought him up.
children are white tea. But okay, I'm a land then. I'm a land. Go ahead,
All
y'all.
right, Abraham. What's the problem, Abraham?
How are you, sir? I
I'm
just
great.
good. I'm happy you're having a good day. I just want to say I did see the Michael Jackson movie. I thought it was amazing. The only issue I had with it is I think that I know they're making another one, correct, sir?
Yeah, they are. They said they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, I believe that there should have been three movies. I think the only issue I had with the movie was the time jumps. I didn't like that it was like every 2 minutes, like we're in 1966 and now we're 1971. 2 minutes later, 1980. I thought they should have spent a little bit more time within his childhood and the Jackson Five, but that was my only critique. I think it was American Dynasty. That was a movie years ago or a TV show about his life. Um, I would recommend that over the movie.
Okay,
But
let me
as far as what I was saying,
before we get to that, let me get to the comment that caused me to bring you up. you said a couple of things. One
about
of
the
the things you
child.
said is that Michael Jackson had a mind of a child. Why did you say that?
Yeah, I mean, people around him say that. I mean, his own family has said that multiple times. That through the things that
Who in
happened
his
with Joe
family
Jackson.
who in his family has said
Yeah, I mean,
Michael
I can
Jackson
go
had the
on
mind of a
Teacup
child?
and yeah, they've said it all the time. He was childlike. He was innocent like a child. I mean, they say it all the time. But I mean, if you want me to go on T,
You said
yeah,
Michael
I'll
Jackson
go on
had
Teacup.
hold on. You said Michael
But
Jackson's family said he had the mind of a child. I'm asking
well, not
who in his
literally. I
family has
don't.
said
I
that?
don't mean literally the mind of a child. I don't mean like he was like stunt. Like he had a disability. That's not what I mean. I think you guys are taking it too literal.
That's what you said.
Yeah, but not so literal. Like he doesn't actually have the mind of a child. So maybe
That
that
is
was my
what you
fault. I should
that
have.
is now you're
Yeah,
walking it
that
back
is yeah.
because that is
No,
what you said.
I should have worded it a little bit better. But he definitely did have child characteristics because of his childhood. I mean, that's not something that you can refute
what made you bring that up?
because
What
it's
of what
true.
I said made you bring that up?
Because I don't think he was as savvy. Like I don't think that
Okay.
the main comment for what I said was you were saying like white people are like afraid. They white people aren't afraid of Michael Jackson. They love Michael Jackson. I promise you, white people would rather have more black people like Michael Jackson than more black people like TK or like Young Thug. So to say that is pretty disingenuous. And then the other thing that I guess I
Well,
had an issue with was
hold
I
on.
think
Now,
a big
I'm
reason.
talking about a hit dog holler because I didn't say that. I was talking about executives and people in power and all that stuff. I didn't say they didn't love Michael, but they didn't like his business acumen. They did not, and you don't either, which is why you're trying to
No,
downplay it.
I
And
think it's a great thing.
on top of white people love Young Thug. Have you been to a Young
Nah,
Thug concert and all that? You see a whole bunch of white people. Let me just digress for a little bit. All of that, white people don't like those types of people. Y'all go to a Chief Keef concert, you will see a sea of white folk.
but they don't trust them.
No,
A white person
all
doesn't
of that.
trust Chief Keef.
Stop. We're not doing. No,
But a
hold
white
on.
person doesn't
Y'all
trust
swear to
Chief
God.
Keef.
Stop. Hold on.
Shut up, man.
Stop.
Hey,
Pause.
lawyer,
What?
calm down.
Pause. Stop.
What?
Cause y'all will swear up and down y'all don't like Young Thug, Chief Keef, King Von, all of that. They got a concert. White people are tripping
But
over their
that's not what I'm
shoelaces to
saying,
get there. So
sir.
let's
That's
not
not
do
what I'm
that.
saying.
But going back to Michael Jackson,
Yeah,
you
back
talk
to Michael
about
Jackson.
he's
Yeah,
not as hold on. You're saying that he's not as
business
savvy
smart. Yes,
as business smart. Why
as you're
why
making
would you
him
say that?
seem.
Why would you say
Yeah.
that?
So as far as the executives, because I wanted to touch on that point next, they didn't hate him because he was a black man that was successful. I mean, you've already had plenty of black successful people at that point. You had Oprah. You had who was making billions of dollars on television by the '90s. You have had already black people that were
Oprah was
successful.
not making
So just let me
billions of
just yes,
dollars
she
in the
was. She
90s.
was.
No, she was not.
Okay.
Sorry,
Jerry
wasn't
Springer was
Oprah on the list?
because
She's
of
literally
Oprah.
part of them.
Hold on, Megan. Hold on.
We don't have to talk about that, but just to tie up what I was going to say, the reason that Sony and all these executives didn't like Michael Jackson and they started putting out these like nasty rumors about him with the kids and all that dumb stuff, because I don't agree with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was because he was going to sell his 50% of Sony to Sony's enemies, and Tom Tola did not like that at all. So he started putting like nasty pieces out about Michael Jackson. It has nothing to do with him being black and successful. It has to do with him selling his 50% of Sony to Sony's enemy. Nothing to do with his skin color.
But Michael
One
did
moment.
say they
Wait a
called
minute.
him
Wait
the
a
N
minute. If I could
word.
turn Megan, hold on. Abraham, one moment. The host went on pause. I just want to say this. Oprah is a billionaire, and we called her out for many things. We don't need you to tell us if she was on the list or not. Go ahead,
I'm
Afro.
just saying.
No, it's more than that. No, it's always a racial component, and that's the thing. You always come in and try to downplay that and try to deny that. There's always a racial component in that with Michael Jackson. Okay, Michael Jackson called out the racism. this is how you know it's racist, because Michael Jackson was calling out what they were doing was being racist to him. Michael Jackson called that out with MTV, which is why he was able to break that barrier. So Michael Jackson was all about breaking racial barriers. One of his last songs was addressing racism, talking about they don't care about us, bringing up Martin Luther King and all of in the racism that he was facing and that black people faced. So all that, oh no, it didn't have anything to do with racism, and racism was never a part of anything at all. That's not true at all. That's not true. Michael
That's not
Jackson.
what I'm saying. But the reason
That's
that
what
the
that.
exec, you think the
Well,
reason executives attacked him was
hold
because
on.
he's black,
Yes, primarily.
not because he
And now
owned
we're gonna hold
50% of
on.
Sony?
No, you're not gonna be able to sit up here and grandstand. All right,
I'm just
let's
asking
not
you a
filibuster.
question.
Let's not filibuster. I got you up here to address something. You addressed it. Now we're going to move on with the rest of the room. All right. So I want to hear what our brother Torian has to say. You can mute yourself.
What's going on, Afro BX and everybody in the chat? Well, yes, I did
Peace,
see
Tori.
the Michael movie. I actually saw it twice. I actually really did. I actually did enjoy it. Jafar Jackson, of course, who was Michael's nephew and Jermaine's son, did a phenomenal job with this character, like playing his uncle. It was so he did so well to the point where I thought I was watching Michael come back from the grave and play himself. Like that's how great of a performance he did. He didn't play his uncle. He literally became him. And that is to definitely be commended because he could have easily just went up there and impersonated. I mean, Michael has thousands of impersonators around the world, but he literally became his uncle. So definitely kudos to him for pulling that off, because that's not easy. Because as a person who's a Michael Jackson fan, and many people who are Michael Jackson fans, we was going to critique that heavy if he didn't do it, nephew or not. But he pulled it off. So I'm confident that going forward, when they do the next part of the movie, that he's going to do amazing with that as well. Now, as far as as Netflix goes, I'm not surprised by this in the least bit. And I saw this and I'm like, y'all decided to put this, I don't know what this is supposed to be out there while the movie is in the height of its success, because Afro, as I said earlier in the chat, when he was just getting started, the movie has now surpassed $800 million globally. That is amazing on a $200 million budget. Like that is simply amazing. Like they're pushing for it. Like hopefully that it'll get to that $1 billion mark. And if it does, I believe it'll be the first biopic ever to hit $1 billion, which is amazing. And I think it could actually happen. But as far as this Netflix so-called documentary goes, you're basically rehashing something we already knew about. I mean, you're going back to 2005. You're talking 21 years ago. We remember when the trial was happening in real time. Those of us who are of a certain age. I remember I was like 16 years old when the verdict came down, because I think the verdict happened in June of that year. So I had just turned 16 like a month ago. And I remember watching it in real time, just like the rest of the world was watching, and them reading off the not guilty verdicts all the way down the line, even down to the part when he stood up on his motorcade and waved to the fans. And they probably hated that and then followed him all the way home. And that was it. So now you're just going back and you're rehashing this to get the take from the people that I think they said that they're talking to the jurors to see how they got to the verdict. We don't care how they got to the verdict. The fact of the matter is the man is not guilty. He's been deceased for almost going on 17 years. So why are you bringing? All I know is this: I won't be watching it. I know I will not be entertaining this. Just like I didn't watch Leaving Neverland. I didn't watch that either. But I will say this though: if anybody in the chat wants to watch a documentary about Michael Jackson and everything that went on in like 93 and even I think 2005 and all of that, watch this documentary called Square One. I think it's on Tubi. Now that's when you should be, if you want to watch something, watch that one. I'm not going to go into the detail about it, but that's a very interesting one right there to watch.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate that. And another thing, the critique he made about the movie, I don't, when I watched the movie, I didn't think that the movie had too many time jumps. I thought that the time jumps were pretty spaced out. It wasn't like every other scene. It was only like a few time jumps, and they kind of highlighted like major aspects of his life, because they couldn't stick to the Jackson 5 the whole movie. They couldn't stick that. I mean, come on now. Like, I wouldn't have made that critique personally. But his critique came with the fact that he didn't really like the movie like that, for real. He might like Michael Jackson, but he doesn't really like the movie like that. All right, for real. He really didn't. Megan, we'll get to you. You from the UK, Megan?
Oh yeah, I'm from the UK. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I did watch the movie. I thought it was very inspirational, to be honest. I came out of the movie wanting to improve my own personal life, wanting to improve in my business. I don't know. I was telling my best friend this yesterday. Michael Jackson music inspires you to be better. And there's very few artists that has that effect in their songs, right? A lot of songs that we listen to, even like our favorite artists, you come out either hating men or hating women or having some sort of like attitude about things. But when it comes to Michael Jackson songs, whenever I listen to it anyways, there's a very high vibration in there that you just come out feeling a little bit better about whatever it is that you're going through. You don't come out of it hating people, right? That's just my observation. And also, like, for example, I loved Destiny's Child, but I know like a lot of the Destiny's Child song made me see the opposite sex a certain way, right? So it's just a different, and I truly believe that his gift was literally trusted by God because God gave him the heart, and God knew that he was going to help people and help children, and this is why he has not been able to be copied. And it's so funny because even if you think about his skin condition, for example, the vitiligo, I always wondered to myself, like, why did God? Because obviously Michael had this success as a dark skinned BLK man, right? That was like the highest selling level. But then it came to a point where he got this vitiligo, couldn't control it anymore, and all of a sudden he started changing, right? And it's almost as if like, I mean, I might be looking at things a little bit too spiritual, but it's almost as if like two sides were covered to ensure that no certain cultures were not able to replace him. Because if you think about Little Richard, for example, the way they were able to steal from him and give it to Elvis, right? A complete new image. They were able to steal from so many BLK artists and give it to their own, a completely like different image. But with Michael, they couldn't do that. They literally couldn't do that. Like whichever, I mean, I've seen interviews and heard phone calls with him where he really hated the the photoshopping, where they will photoshop him to look certain way and lighten up his eyes, and he'll be like, oh no, I'm not like that, and he would really hate that. But and also one thing as well, I don't know if anyone has noticed, why is it only YT family coming out accusing him? And why is it only they only show him with YT family? Wasn't just hanging out with YT families. He was hanging out with families from Africa, from all over the world. So why is it just this specific group of people that are the ones that constantly accuse him of things after he tries to help them? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but it's a bit suspicious. So I definitely think that they deleted him because of his race, 100%. I feel that, I mean, he even spoke against the racism from Tommy Mottola, etc. And it was more than him just owning the catalogue. It was who he was, the core of him as a BLK. And he was very proud of being who he was. And I think they just didn't like that. They really didn't like that.
Yeah, appreciate that. I'm gonna say, I like what you said. Maybe I didn't interpret exactly or get exactly what you meant when the whole vitiligo thing. Like, if are you implying that like God? Maybe you were implying that his image is so versatile he can't be copied. I guess that's what
That's
you
what I
were.
mean. I mean, I don't know like why things happen to people, but as they say, because I'm a Christian, I believe that things happen for a reason. Whereas it's a very horrible thing that happened to him, and plus he had lupus as well, right? Because when he had his first surgery on his nose, the healing didn't happen correctly, so he had to keep going back to kind of correct it, because with lupus, your bones don't heal properly. So what I'm saying is like, I don't know why those things happened to him, and clearly he suffered about it. But it's funny how, because of those things, they're not able to duplicate him, right? They're not able to take what he built to give it to their own, if that
Well,
makes
okay.
sense.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
maybe if you, it depends on how you, maybe all of
it
that
just,
stuff is for
yeah,
a reason, you know.
it's just
I
me
do
trying
want to
to
get
find
to,
reason. Yeah,
I do want to get to what you were saying as far as the accusations, right, that they keep bringing up. And notice it's the same people
yeah,
that bring up the accusations. It's literally the same group of people. Now, Michael was helping everybody,
yeah,
despite the race, but it's the same group of people. And another thing, this is another rumor that they've consistently tried to slander Michael on. Going to the vitiligo thing, they consistently, I remember as a kid, there was rumors and narratives that Michael Jackson was purposely bleaching his skin because
yeah,
he didn't want to be black, and they pushed this narrative that his dad, and in the movie they kind of, that's a critique. If I could have a critique, that would be a critique, that they pushed the narrative that his dad was so harsh, so abusive, so mean, that it made Michael Jackson not want to be black no more. It made him change his nose. It made, because in the, well, I guess it's spoilers, but in the movie they even did that.
yeah,
It made Michael Jackson not want to be black. He changed his nose. He permed his hair. He bleached his skin. All of this stuff because he wanted to be white. And this because his dad was just so much of a tyrant, so abusive that he just hated his blackness. And that wasn't anywhere near the truth. That
yeah,
couldn't be any farther from the truth. Michael Jackson was a very proud black man. He said it. He made music about it. He helped out the black community. So it was not, that was a lie to get black people to have this disconnect with Michael Jackson.
yeah.
You know, he don't like black people. You know, he hates his own blackness. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that we get black fans to kind of disconnect with him. So
Exactly. I mean, I saw interviews with Latoya when she said that her brother had an accident, right? He
mhm.
had an accident in
I'm
rehearsal.
gonna let you say this and land because then I want to move
Yeah.
on to.
Yeah, he had an accident in rehearsal and then his nose was broken. He didn't even want to do it. In fact, he asked Latoya, can she do it so that he could see how it looks like on her before he gets it done, because it's something that he had to do because of his breathing. So he didn't do it because he hated himself. And it was just literally because of an accident. They should have included that in the movie. I don't know why they didn't do that. And also him and Joe Jackson, Michael, because of his character, he was such a sweet, loving person. He needed a father like Joe. He needed a father who was strong enough to keep the bad guys away. I just, after the movie, I thought to myself, I wonder how many people that did want to try something with Michael, but they couldn't because Joe stopped them, right?
Yeah.
And this is why they had to separate him from Joe. So
Yeah, let me.
I'll just stop
Yeah,
there.
I'll
Yeah.
lay in there because we'll circle back to that because I want to talk about what they mean, what they say about Joe Jackson as well too. I want to talk about that too. But let me get to Young Queen. Hear what she
Hi,
has to say.
hi, Afro Elite. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, good. Do you have a question for me, or how you want me to start?
Well, you came up and I know you probably were listening and you probably wanted to add something.
Yeah, so I'll add to what I see. I think that there's a petition that we can sign to trump this Netflix Michael Jackson verdict thing going on. We need to remove it. We need to file a petition. We need to call Netflix. We need to let them know, listen, we will cancel our prescriptions if you let this out, because we already know he's innocent. The same people who are convicting or who are accusing Michael Jackson over and over again are the same people that fought for Michael Jackson to say he was innocent initially. Now, as far as his surgery, he did get an accident first to break his nose, and then he started doing those nose jobs. And yes, like you were saying, Megan, the lupus was causing some conflicts with those damages, especially with the burn on the back of his head. I think he really did love being black. I don't think he wanted to look like his father, though. I think that's what he was also running from, because he wanted his father's love, and his father wasn't truly giving him the love he needed. That's how I feel.
It could be.
That's why he wanted to be the greatest, because he was looking for our love and our acceptance that he wasn't getting as a child from his father. He said that out of his own mouth.
It could be. It could be that. That
That's
he
what it
felt the
is.
disconnection. Well, I don't think that necessarily all of the surgeries was primarily because of that. Because Michael never has admitted that that's why he was getting the nose surgeries. When
I'm
people
saying he
were,
broke his nose first. You get that?
yeah, I know he did, and that's something that the movie actually kind of
Didn't
got wrong,
show.
got
Yeah.
incorrect, because
Yeah.
they implied that he did it out of some insecurity. He looked at a
Right.
picture of himself and was like, "Oh, my
That's
nose
false
is too big,"
information.
and
Exactly.
that's not how that happened.
Exactly.
And then the nose jobs he kept having to. And here's the thing: a lot of times when people get like fake, especially back in the day, when people got work done, they would have to kind of keep getting touch ups and things like that, and they would have to keep getting adjustments and things of the sort. Especially if it's not done right, then you got to go back to another person and they got to kind of redo. So it's a lot of that stuff that was going on with Michael, and they pushed a lot of that in the movie. And I get they kind of made his dad the antagonist, so to speak, of the movie. And I'm not saying that his dad was perfect, because Michael has said that, and so has his siblings. So Michael, I'm not trying to say, oh, they did his dad completely wrong and dirty. No, I mean, there were some things that I've heard them say out their own mouth. I was like, oh wow, I'm surprised they went that way, right? However, though, I will say that Michael had a hard dad. Michael had a tough dad. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Although
Joe did
Michael,
support him. I did want to. I mean, I see people talking to me in the comments. Joe did support him. Joe was there for
oh
him,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And like
Joe was
Megan
very
said,
supportive.
if Joe wasn't there, then just imagine
Yeah,
how many monsters
yeah,
would
but
have.
I'm saying though, to your point, I'm saying Joe was a very active father. He might not have shown love and affection the way other people want to, have love and affection shown. He maybe not, but Joe was a very active father. Joe was a father who very much so cared about his son and his family. Even when Michael left and did his own solo thing, Joe was still very much so concerned with his well-being. Joe was still very much so actively there advocating for his son, being by his son's side. So, he wasn't affectionate. No, he wasn't. He was tough. Yeah, he was.
He
But
was
I'm gonna be very
abusive
honest with you.
and controlling
Yeah,
and
and you can say
manipulating.
that. However, Joe had a vision for his family. Joe had a very strict vision for his family, and at the end of the day, Joe got that. Joe was able to produce arguably the best entertainer of all time, of human history, to where most people since Michael Jackson have been trying to replicate Michael Jackson, outdo Michael Jackson. Drake currently is trying to outdo, and it can't be done. Michael Jackson can't be topped. And a lot of that, and I'm not trying to take away from Michael Jackson's talent and Michael Jackson's hard work, dedication, and success, but a lot of that is honestly, a lot of that's due to Joe. That's due to Joe. That's due to what Joe has done. Joe has put forth. That's
Joe is
due
not the
to
star, though.
Joe is not the star. No, he's not. But Michael is, and I'm not taking nothing away from Michael. I'm not. I will never take anything away from Michael. I want to add to the fact that the foundation that Michael was brought up on was because of Joe. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have a Michael Jackson. So when people villainize Joe Jackson and they might embellish or exaggerate, and I'm not saying that Joe was right, because Michael has said that. But I want us to have a more mature understanding of what he was trying to do. Joe felt he needed to be that harsh to produce what he produced. Maybe he didn't need to be that harsh, but did work.
He was abusive. He was manipulative and controlling.
Okay.
Michael fought out of that. He wanted to be out on his own. Joe didn't want him to be on his own. But Joe wanted to continue to control him with the Jacksons and the whole Jackson narrative Joe is one of the reasons why he got burned because he felt like he was pushed to have to do that Pepsi incident. I've
Well,
heard
Pepsi is the
Michael
reason.
Jackson,
Let's be fair. Pepsi is the reason Michael got burned, not Joe. That was Pepsi's fault. That wasn't
but
Joe's
Joe
fault.
made that deal behind Michael's back anyway.
He did make that deal behind Michael's back. Michael agreed to it at the time. Michael did agree to it.
He didn't want to
So,
do it.
and he didn't want to do it. And I'm not trying to sit up here and pardon Joe of all blame and all guilt. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying
Can
to
I
say
say this real fast?
you gotta add the
Joe, Mike,
have to add the good with the bad though. You
can I
can't
say
we
this real
can't
quick?
because we do a lot of shaming on Joe, but we have to say, you
I
know,
get you want to kind of like protect him a little bit, but let me say this: Michael Jackson has said multiple times out of his own mouth that he
mhm,
has PTSD due to his father. He said if he would go to the store and heard a parent be
mhm,
yelling at his kid, he would cry and break down. Quincy
mhm,
Jones also has said the same thing. One time they got into an argument. This is the downfall of their relationship. Quincy got so upset he started yelling in Michael's face. Michael froze up, and it was like Quincy knew he was traumatized, as if he saw Joe all over again. So yes, Joe was an active father. Yes, Joe had a vision, but Joe was absolutely abusive and tormenting and traumatizing. Absolutely.
and
And
and that's
if it wasn't
unfortunate
for
though. Hold on,
Michael to want to go out on his own,
that's
he would have still been in the Jackson 5 and we would have never got that independency from Michael. Michael did what he did to be the
oh,
greatest
and I'm not
entertainer of
taking.
all time.
Okay,
It's not
let's let me.
100%
But
because of
hold on,
Joe.
ma'am. Hold on, ma'am. I'm not trying.
Thank
I don't
you.
want us.
Bye.
I don't want us. Hold on. And then you're gonna leave. That was not necessary.
No, no.
Hold on,
Can
hold
I add
on, hold on, hold
something?
on, hold on. That's not necessary. Hold on. Let's not do that because I'm not trying to say that Joe was perfect or quote unquote project or protect Joe. That's not what I was doing. But Michael, if you're gonna say that Michael said that about Joe, his father, you also have to add that Michael, in an interview, said that he understands why his father did it. Michael forgave his father, and Michael said several times that he loved his father, and his father did show up in Michael Jackson's most important time of need. All right, so yeah, Joe was those things, and yeah, I'm not saying that everybody should be like Joe, but we do have to understand when they say these things about Joe, these are the things that produce Michael Jackson. These are, and these are the quintessential elements of, and I'm gonna say it, fatherhood that modern day society preaches against. They preach against that very tough fatherhood. I'm not advocating for being abusive, but they don't like that because they know the results of that strict, stern fatherhood produces greatness. That is what produced Michael Jackson. That is what produced Beyonce. That is what produced Serena, Venus and Serena. All of them, their father laid the same groundwork. It was strict and tough and maybe even mean or cruel, but it produced Michael, it produced Beyonce, it produced Venus and Serena, and I can go down the list. They don't like that with black fathers because they don't slander the super tough white fathers. That
Mm.
strict fatherhood, they don't villainize that with white fathers. They do that with black fathers.
Yep.
All right. So let's, yeah, somebody's bringing up um Floyd Mayweather, what's his name, Tiger. That strict fatherhood makes the best of people. It just does. And
Im-
I'm not trying to pardon Joe. I'm not saying that Joe should be forgiven for everything he did. I'm not saying that Joe never crossed the line, because he did. He crossed the line. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to say, well, everything Joe did was wrong, because it wasn't. And that's just the truth. It wasn't.
Can I
And
also
maybe
add?
if you're projecting maybe your childhood and you're trying to make it seem as if, well, my dad kind of reminds me of Joe. Somebody's on them mic, they got him. If you feel some type of way about your childhood and you're projecting that onto Joe, that's not fair. That's not fair.
To that,
Joe,
brother.
Joe, Joe looked out for Michael, and probably, especially before Michael was able to really branch out on his own, he had a lot of producers and executives and different labels whispering in his ear, and Joe was able to guard Michael from that until Michael was mature enough to branch out and be on his own for the most part. So this isn't me saying that Joe is some great phenomenal hero, but we're going to be honest about everything.
Yeah. Can I add something before I go, please, if you don't mind? Michael, before he passed away, was calling his father so his father could take charge of the promoters, because he had initially signed up for 10, and obviously they overworked him, called him all type of names when he was missing rehearsals, and he was trying to get in contact with his father because he knew his father would come in and sort it out. So Michael needed a Joe in his life. Now, the issue I have is that a lot of parents, because a lot of our parents, should I say, right, our black fathers, sometimes they don't, they sort of raise everybody under the same roof in the same way, right? Because Jermaine, for example, said his father wasn't bad. Michael was just a bit sensitive because he felt a lot, right? He was one of those people that felt things. So as a father, perhaps you could have adjusted it when it came to, to him or other children, because what one can take, the other one can't. Perhaps that's where he went wrong. But Joe was not all bad. He needed to be like that in order for them to come out. Otherwise, we all know where they all would have ended up. And I'm proud of the family. I'm proud that this is a black family that we're all speaking of. Everybody's looking up to them, and that is down to their parents as well.
All
So,
right.
Could I want to add to
Yes,
this?
how does this work? Is it
Having
going in
grown
order?
up in this,
Whoa. Everybody can't talk at the same time. Hold on.
But
We're
I
going to
just
get the
wanted to
people.
know, how does it work? Is we going in order, or people just
Yeah,
talking?
I'm gonna call names. I'm gonna call names. She said she
Okay.
wanted to say something before she left, so I just wanted to let her get the last thing she had to say out. Let's get to AD.
What up, though, Afro Elite?
What up, though?
What up, though, man? Been rocking with you for years now.
Appreciate that.
And
Appreciate it.
I'm about to turn 50. Joe Jackson was no different than every father back in that time. They was tough on us, but they still loved us. The same way I am with my kids. You know what I'm saying? So what the other young lady was talking about, I have no clue, no idea. I don't know if they think that we don't love one another. We don't love our children. We love our children. Sometimes we could be a little harsh. Sometimes we could be a little tough. But that's just our nature to protect them from the world. Because this whole world has been tough on foundational black Americans since they invaded us. You know.
Nah, hell no. What Joe Jackson did, he wasn't right.
Hold on. We're gonna let you go ahead, but don't jump the line. Don't do that.
Yeah. So Joe Jackson probably wasn't no different from your father. I know my father was something else, but my father, the love was there. You could talk to my kids now, they'll tell you I get on them, but the love is there. I got young kids, so Joe, he was a father. And so for anybody to try to, that's something that the YT media like to paint upon us. That, well, we vicious fathers or we mean fathers. No, we just know what's out there because we have already lived that life. So we know what's out there. We know what's coming. And we got to protect our kids. We want our kids to protect themselves. So Joe Jackson loved his son just like Mama Jackson. It's funny how they never say nothing about Mama Jackson, but they always put all the blame on Joe Jackson. And it's funny how they never speak on Kamala Harris when she tried to prosecute him, but they always want to speak on Joe Jackson. Even Joe Jackson, the Jackson family, they had the Nation of Islam to protect Mike and protect themselves. They had Don King, who was heavy in the mob, to protect Mike and protect themselves. So that's love. All that other stuff, oh, he hit him with a belt. Stop it. I got whooped by belts. I come up, I was born in 76. I got paddled by teachers that I didn't even know. So all that, he got whooped. I got my butt whooped all the time. I got whooped by neighbors and all that. So ain't nobody want to hear that. Joe Jackson was just abusive father. You know, for anybody to come up here, please stop it, man, because you know, majority of y'all that's coming up here saying that Joe Jackson's abusive father is the ones who never had a father in their life. And I land my plane there. Salute.
All right, salute to you. Let's get to. Let me see. Taffy Green. You can unmute yourself.
In order, sir?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think I bought her. I bought her up first, and then I'm gonna get to you next.
I was on there first, I think. But anyway, I was agreeing with what you were saying about Michael and his father, and I seen the interview where Michael was saying that if it wasn't for his father, he probably wouldn't be the man that he is. His father thought I guess he was like the golden child, and he did said he forgave him, you know. But Joe, at first I looked at it like he was being abusive, but then I understand everything because like everybody's saying, well, most of us anyway, back in the days, that's what people, they used to beat the kids. I never got a beating. My father was 6'3", so I never got a beating. I probably should have because I was so bad, but I understand, the process. You know what I'm saying? And then the lady said something about Michael was trying to get his father, and that's not true. Joe Jackson said on the interview he was trying to reach out to Michael Jackson when that deal came with the This Is It tour, and he couldn't get through to him. Because his mother and father were saying that's too many tours to do, and he was trying to get through to him, but he couldn't. But far as him being abusive to the point where like today where BCW is called on, he was strict, and Michael probably wouldn't have been a perfectionist. I can't, perfect the way he was.
Perfectionist.
Yes, if it wasn't for all the training, you know what I'm saying, that his father instilled in him. I mean, he got the message. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't blame Joe, for everything, but he could have been a little too harsh at times and stuff, and it really bothered Michael. But if he wasn't, Michael wouldn't have been the way
He
how
wouldn't.
who
He
he is.
wouldn't have.
Exactly the way he is now today.
Yeah.
So
And
that's all.
and I can guarantee you that that's probably going to be in the documentary, in the Netflix documentary,
They gonna still
because
have that?
that was something. Now I didn't watch the Leaving Neverland documentary that they made. I think HBO made. If I'm correct, Torian, am I correct? BX Torian, is HBO made that documentary, right? I think it was HBO that made that documentary. I'm not, maybe.
But are they still having the Netflix and
But
still
yeah,
coming?
Netflix is still okay. It was HBO. Thank you. So in that documentary, they threw a lot at his father too, and the reason why they threw it at his father is because they understand those type of fathers create phenomenal legends. All right, which
Mm-hmm.
is why the early implementation of discipline and strictness and um drive that is instilled in them at a young age, and then that
Mm-hmm.
manifests when they become adults to where
Right.
they can do it without their father's
Right.
supervision. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson, that's how he was very meticulous when he was making the Thriller, not just the album but the actual video with it too. Michael was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh no, we got to reshoot that. Okay, we got to do it again. Okay,
Yeah.
you got to get down this low. Okay, you got to do this." Mike was able to come up with things and invent things and then make these, and everything seems so flawless because of that early thing of discipline. What they're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
because this is based off of how I didn't, of course, this documentary hasn't come out yet, but what the old documentary, the Leaving Neverland documentary, was trying to do is that Joe Jackson was so abusive, so harsh. It traumatized him, and it forced him to stay in a childlike mindset because of how harsh and abusive Joe was. Now, I didn't do that with none of his other siblings. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to keep this in mind. None of Michael Jackson's other siblings are like that.
Can I
Michael
say
Jackson was
something
like
real
that.
quick?
But
I think
hold on, man.
okay.
Um, it forced Michael to be in this childlike state, which is why he interacts with children and he does things with children because he likes children. He fell in love with children. That's the angle that they try to use. They try to tie his father, which I'm not gonna say his father didn't do too much, because
Mm-hmm.
even Michael said his father did too much. His siblings also said, I'm like, ooh, and some of the things they would all like call me Joseph, not dad. I'm like, damn. My dad would never
Mm-hmm.
let me call him by his first name. That's crazy.
Right.
But they try to create some type of dots that
Storyline.
connect
Mm-hmm.
to him being a child that fell in love with children even as an adult, which never
No,
happened.
no, no.
All right.
And
So we got to be careful with that.
also he never really had time to play because they always had to rehearsal. But I think he took it more serious than the rest of them.
Mhm.
For me, I think Michael Jackson is a genius. You know what
All
I'm
right, great.
saying?
Let's hold on. Let's get to the other speakers so
Go
everybody get a
ahead.
chance to speak.
Hmm.
Let's get to the Afro Nabby.
Yeah. What's up, bro? And I like your take on that. So I grew up in that era. In school, we had corporal punishment. So I got into a fight with children on a school bus that they started, and we got to pick. You can get a paddle or you can get suspension. Not suspension. What's the other one where you go home temporarily? Yeah, you're suspended, right? So you get 3 days suspension or you could take 3 licks, right? This is the same schools back in the day that taught boxing as gym class. All right, I want y'all to understand this. And so basically, when you look at the children growing up in that day, they were able to handle a lot more than we could handle because majority of children growing up in that day were raised by a mother and fathers, right? The other thing people forget that Joe Jackson was raising his children in the industry and he knew the industry was snakes. So yes, he is going to be more harsh, more disciplined on his children and teach them that discipline. He taught all of his children that discipline. What ends up happening is when children grow up and become men, they're in this industry, they start getting their own ideas and they're going to compete against their father because the father think he know best, but now they like, I'm grown now, I know best, right? And that's what that is. That isn't the lack of love. And that isn't him being the perfect person in raising children because no one is. Everybody makes a mistake. People do the best that they can. People wish they would have been more harsh when they weren't. They wish they would have been more light when they weren't and stuff. There's no book on raising children, right? But when people talk about this, they never talk about how that this man taught them so much discipline that they were able to weather the industry. Michael Jackson bought Sony. All right, let that sink in. The FBI investigated Michael Jackson for 13 years before people start coming out with all these lies like leaving Neverland and stuff like that. Not once was the FBI conclusion put in any of these things. The attack on black fathers, all right, for making their children superstars like the Williams' fathers, he got his teeth busted in trying to take them to a place and teaching them the game himself, right? Michael Jackson's father didn't know nothing about the industry except they were snakes. So he's trying to protect his sons at the same time. But I want everybody to remember the Silvers, right? The hotline, that group, right? The Afro group. They were destroyed from the inside by people from the industry coming in, putting sweet nothings in the daughter's ears, and they could have been the next Jackson family. That's the kind of stuff Joe Jackson was trying to stop, right? And so what's happening is that the system, the media, is trying to convince people to despise fathers and their toughness, despise fathers who use discipline, strict discipline, all right, so that there will not be any more Venus Williams coming up. There will not be any more Michael Jacksons coming up, right? Because those disciplined fathers, if you look at the end product, none of their sons, none of those Jackson sons got in trouble.
Mm.
The only time a Jackson family member was in trouble is when they ignored father's advice. LaToya got with that dude, and that dude had her strung out. But if you look at all the rest of the children, Riri had a hit record. Every last Jackson had a song that made the top 100. Every last one of them. Right? No other family has that to claim. Right? So when we talk about hindsight 2020, we need to stop these people from getting all their information on how this family was raised from the media. All right. Those of us that grew up in that era, we know what it was. We know he ain't perfect either. But who is? I mean, really, who is?
Yep.
Did he make some mistakes? Probably. But who is?
I
That's what I
appreciate
was
that.
going to say.
Let's get to. Okay.
That that viewpoint there. I just want to say that we understand that now people have resources where they talk about what is discipline, what is not. I do believe that today's people, right, are very sensitive. They took discipline, not beating, not spanking, not, they kind of took some of the parents' hands, power out of our hands. And so therefore you'll have people over analyzing Joe Jackson, not understanding the era that he was born in, and then also raised his children in. And so yeah, we have the resources today. And I just kind of wanted to give a little resistance to the Afro Nabis. There's no book on parenting. It's all white tea resources, right? When I was pregnant with my children, there was a lot of white tea type of magazines about parenting, but they were the first abusers. They were, you know what they did today. You know what I'm saying? The enslaved and even the free, the children, and this, that, and the third had to create laws to protect white tea women from unaliving our babies. So we do have resources today. There's a fine line between discipline and abuse, but error and the way the parents were raised should come into play too.
I,
He was a very strong man.
I agree. But I want to also add this when they say that beatings or whoopings come from slavery, right? And I would just add this perspective: is taking a belt and hitting some and whooping somebody's butt with the belt the same as taking a whip and cracking it against somebody's back? Those are very different things.
Way different.
Those are very
Way different.
so
There
let's
it is.
Thank you for that.
you know so let's put everything in its perspective, right?
They share the
Let-
same essence.
Hold on, before we get to you, well, I'm gonna get to you next, but let's get to 2020.
Hey, what's going on, brother Afro? Nice to talk to you, man. How you doing?
Let's talk to you too, bro. How you doing?
I'm
Actually, I'm
good.
got to get to Mr. Wilson after you, but go ahead.
Yeah, this documentary just shows you how much influence and how much power Michael Jackson had all over the world. Man, this thing is gonna flop because if anything, the movie that just came out and it's doing very well. They're just trying to get ahead of the success of the movie. As
Hmm.
far as though Joe Jackson, you know, I believe my conjecture is if he was allowed to stay around, Michael Jackson, not per se handle his business, but just been there as I think half of this stuff wouldn't have happened to Michael Jackson. Because thinking about it, once he got on his own and was able to venture out, a lot of the vultures, a lot of the leeches were able to have some influence and come into his circle and have certain things on him and get him into certain situations. That's when he started. I feel he started getting into these problems. when he allowed all these other influences to come outside. And that's what Joe was trying to prevent. Just think about it, Afro. Joe Jackson from a certain era where you had Ike Turner, Little Richard, when they dealt with the industry, it was straight up the racism was palpable. There was an up in your face. So they had no other choice but to deal with it. But I would say, like, see, they're attacking Joe Jackson. That's just a proxy for attacking black fathers. The same way they did with Richard Williams, the same way they do with LeVar Ball, because and the reason why they create such diamonds is like Beyonce, the Williams sisters, the Ball brothers, and the Jacksons is because the black fathers we went through all the pressure. We took all the abuse and we went through all the pressure. This is why we're able to create such diamonds, you know? So but like I said, with this documentary, it's not going. It ain't gonna get much footage. Like, what are they going to say that they haven't already said already? How many documentaries are they going to make? Because like I said, with this movie coming out and it's doing well, they're not going to be able to change the narrative. You know. But on that note, I'll land. Thank you.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, all they're gonna do is really rehash what the slanders that they've been having. It's not like there's no new evidence. There's no new evidence, no new discovery, no new nothing. It's just gonna be a copy and paste of
You're
what
right,
they've
man.
been saying for real. Let's
Hey
get.
man, hey, I'm gonna go and let somebody up. Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh,
I'm gonna let
thank you,
somebody else up.
thank you for joining us. Let's get to Mr. Wilson.
Hey, peace, fam. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I mean, I was just listening in. Very, very interesting topic. Very good conversation. I just want to commend you on something that you stood on, which is how the narrative is against the father.
You you're breaking up a little bit,
Oh, I thought that was my connection. I turned off my Wi-Fi and everything. I thought my connection was acting up.
Mr. Wilson. You're breaking up a little bit. Okay, we'll get back to him. We'll get back to him. Uh, let's get to Black Energy.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
We're good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I view Michael Jackson as somewhat, of a spiritual, person. Like when you listen to his music, your soul has no choice but to move. As a black person, for me, in my family, and what he did for our family. And I think that we got to understand that Michael Jackson survived despite Joe Jackson, not because of Joe Jackson.
Mm,
Like when you have a spirit that strong in the universe, it comes with a handler, basically. And 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 Joe Jackson was that handler. He was the father. He was doing what most fathers were doing, and white people shouldn't be using it to point the finger at black fathers. I disagree with that. But you gotta understand, like he was also, a terrorizer in some sorts, right? Like he could have made Michael's music so much better if he behaved in a way that uplifted Michael instead of putting him down. Like a gymnast who's 6 years old can be taught very carefully without ever having to have hands put on her by her gymnast coach. There's a way to weave people's evolution in a natural, flowing way where they, like his music, like let's say he was raised by, I don't know, an Egyptian priest. His music would have literally changed the world because his soul and his light was that drastic. But
okay.
instead, he made it despite having this guy who was basically suppressing him throughout his life. How it
Oh,
should have gone is a father who loves him. And at 22, he would have basically went independent because he was ready to go independent. He knew
but
himself. He wouldn't be
okay,
tricked by any white labels. And he would
okay.
love to bring his father along because he didn't have this complex where the father was, he was scared of his father, basically. That's not
Here's
how you're supposed to be.
okay. Here's the thing though. Michael Jackson, and this is not up for debate or anything like that. Michael Jackson started with the Jackson 5. That all started 100% because of Joe. The fact that the Off the Wall album was able to be released is because of the success of the Jackson 5 because of Joe Jackson. So all of that, Michael was really being suppressed by his father. No, there wouldn't have been a Michael, period, without his father. And
Facts.
that's not anything to debate. It all started with
Yeah, he
him
made it
having
despite his
all
father.
his sons do that. Michael, yeah, it's not like he just had one day and he was like, "Hey, Michael's a musical genius," and then Michael was doing something, and then his father saw it and capitalized off it. He made that out of his son. So we have to put everything in its
And
proper.
that's why Michael had the issues that he had later on in his life, because again, he was terrorized by his father. It ended
No,
up
he
being his
wasn't.
Okay,
undoing.
define terrorized. How was he terrorized by his father? Because that's a strong word. How was he
Perpetual
terrorized?
he was described as being in perpetual fear of his father.
No, no, no. Can you describe exactly what he
Let's
did
let's
for him to be
let's
terrorized
describe
by his
that.
Beating
dad?
him,
Because
beating him.
when you say
When you beat
terrorize, you make it
somebody,
seem like, okay. When you
you
say
instill
terrorize,
fear in them.
okay, my father instilled fear in me too,
Right.
and that's what fathers do. They instill fear in their kids.
Not real
That's
fathers.
yeah yes they do.
Well,
Lord.
Yes, they
we have a
do.
fundamental
I
difference of
never
opinion. We have
thought
a
for a
fundamental
single
difference.
time that my father didn't love me, but I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to do something wrong and
Thank
him
you.
find out about it.
Facts.
Yeah. You can raise a kid to even be a genius and you don't have to hit him. Like I don't know
Okay.
where this is coming from.
Let's
We
say you
get
disagree with that. Let's say, hold on. Let's say you disagree with that, because apparently people want to weigh in. We'll let them weigh in. Let's say you disagree with that, but for you to say terrorize, did he like threaten to take his life away
The
when he
way
was
that the
when
way
he
they
was an
just
adult? When he was a kid, he whooped him with a belt when he was a kid. Was he punching him in the stomach when he was an adult? Like, where was all of this terror where he was in
well, let's listen
perpetual
to their
fear of
daughters
his father?
themselves.
Let's not, come on now.
What did one of Joe Jackson's daughters accuse him of
Okay,
doing?
we're getting to
I,
Joe, because I'm not even sure about
he
the
was a
accusation that
terror.
you bring up.
You know,
No,
can
he
you imagine
wasn't.
if even a little bit of that was true? Even if a little bit of it is true and she's telling the truth. You know, this is a psychological thing that was put onto Michael. He shouldn't have feared his father. Imagine if he grew up in a loving home that was, I mean, I'm not saying his home wasn't loving. It just was loving in a bad way, a toxic way where you hit the kids.
If Michael Jackson grew up with another father, Michael Jackson would just be an ordinary person.
No.
He would. If
If he grew up
Michael
with Joe
Jackson grew up,
Jackson,
Michael Jackson would have in no stretch of the word been nearly as close to what he is today.
if he grew up with
Period.
Joe Jackson, but being positive,
No.
he would have changed the world.
If he grew up with a positive, if he grew up with a positive, lackadaisical Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson would have entered
gymnast
a
doesn't have to
world
be
of
lackadaisical.
stop. If he would have
A
entered a
gymnast coach
world,
doesn't.
stop. A gymnast coach is not raising kids. He is not
The way
only
they are.
coaching, he is also raising him and several other children. And I'm not saying that Joe didn't go too far. But what I'm saying is, you're saying he didn't have to hit him. He didn't have to. He could have just
Right.
given him flowers and pep talks and all of that. When you're stepping into the industry as cutthroat as Michael Jackson did,
You especially need
okay,
to build a
when you're
bond,
stepping into that, you have
a
to
healthy
have
bond.
a backbone. You have to have a tough, gritty
Destroyed their bond.
upbringing that maybe Michael didn't. Hold on. Okay. You need to have some emotional discipline, because you're over talking the host. Maybe Michael didn't appreciate at the time when he was in that. And then it wasn't until later on when Michael started understanding how cutthroat the industry was and how shisty everybody else is around him and how disciplined and focused he was, to maybe then start appreciating how his father was. And this isn't to say that Joe is 100% correct in everything like that, but yeah, you do need that. When you step into an industry, as cutthroat as the industry is on black folk, you need that very gritty coach behind you. Okay, because if we're going to say that's abuse, then a coach that yells at the football players is abuse too. You shouldn't be yelling. You should just be giving them a pat on the back and a hug and talking about it's okay that you dropped that ball. It's okay that you fumbled that. It's okay you didn't make that pass. No, coaches yell at their players to make their players better.
So, can I
Some things are
interject?
necessary.
Can I
It's tough,
I'm
respond to
but
that
it's
real
sorry.
quick?
necessary.
Can
I'm
I,
sorry.
I
Wait,
want
Black
to.
Energy
I'm
Force.
glad you
1 minute,
likened
Red
it to
Hills
football.
lady. 1 minute,
Look at
sir. I kind of
Hold
let
want
me
to,
on.
because
respond.
Let the
so
mod
I
let
don't
the
want to
mod
talk
Speaking.
over
let the
people.
mod go.
Yeah. So I think there is a difference of opinion, right? But I kind of want to know his ethnic group, because living in New York, I understand that each ethnic group has different ways of disciplining their children. Now, though Latinos in my age group will tell me about their parents making them kneel on rice for hours. The Caribbeans, around my children's age, I scroll past their rooms and they talk about the disciplined ways they were by their elders. Michael Jackson is a public figure with a history of his father disciplining him, but he's not the only Black American who have been disciplined in certain ways. My mother has told us stories about her mama, right? And usually by the grandchild, the disciplinarian is a bit lighter on the discipline. But what I'm trying to say is that Michael Jackson, although it's sad that he feels his father damn near abused him, right? And Afro is saying that without his father's strict discipline, he would not be the man that he was during his lifetime. So I just kind of want to show you that it's not just Joe Jackson. In all areas, people are disciplined a certain generation in a certain way that others will primarily disagree with. So, and I also believe from raising my own children, discipline, spankings don't work with each child, right? There's children that you discipline another way, and I don't want to sound like the white tea lady. Discipline works for some children, and discipline just doesn't for others. So you're on the side of the fence that any type of discipline, it seems like it doesn't work in your book. But look at the children today who we can't discipline. Do you see how they're cutting up?
Facts.
So I don't know what to say about it. It seems like it's up for debate, Afro. But I'm gonna land it there.
Let me let
They yeah,
After
I'll
you're
land.
done,
I'll
we're
land.
gonna
That's
let
all I needed to
Foundational go
say.
ahead and weigh in.
Yeah, peace, Afro. How you doing? Peace to the panel. See, this is the thing, right? The brother talk about, I guess, the gentle parenting. Obviously, the gentle parenting not working because he can't hold he don't have the decorum to wait until you're done. So obviously, it needs some kind of discipline down the line, right? And so that's what it come down to. We see. I find it really funny that only when it come to us, now we got to dig into the parents, we got to dig into the history, we got to dig in. Nobody digging into Elvis Presley's past, his parents, and what their parents are doing, none of that. Nobody digging into nobody else history. And I knew they was going to do something like this because they actually said during the movie, why didn't you show the bad parts? Why didn't you show the court cases? That was actually a thing where people were actually mad that they didn't show any of this stuff, and it was some more so of the good things that what happened with Michael Jackson. So I find it really interesting that this comes out of which I knew. What I thought is I thought that they were going to have somebody come out of nowhere and say, "Well, something happened to me with Michael." That's how I thought they were going to do it because I understand white supremacy. But now I see there's a documentary. This is my first time seeing it on you bringing it up. And it kind of shocked me. Like they waited now to do this. They had how many years to make a documentary, and now all of a sudden, after the success of the movie, the greatness, the love, and the things that went on, they want to come out with this documentary that probably don't even have nothing new. That's probably going to, like you said earlier, have the same things they've been saying. Kind of like they want to kind of remind you, in a sense, that, oh, wait, hold on, y'all. Don't celebrate too much. Yeah, this is what he did. Right? It's a weird thing. And this is why I said we have to kind of make our own movies with our own narratives and our own perspective with our own lens, right? Because they're going to always try to find the ills and the woes of what people or what our people did, or try to put a stain on a lot of our people. Because like the brother said earlier, a lot of people, they kind of look up to Michael Jackson. They got him through hard times, and right, this is somebody that people look at Michael Jackson as, you know, I guess I don't want to say a leader, but they look up to Michael Jackson, right? And so, they got to put a stain to somebody as great as Michael Jackson to kind of make it like, hold on, let's humble that down a little bit. And it's a weird thing because, again, I don't see them do that. We had the Epsteins, we had the gentleman, there's a director, I forgot his name, he was found guilty for doing actually found guilty for doing these things and touching children and stuff. There's no movies and documentaries that people coming out or none of that. Nobody's digging into his parents, what his parents doing, and none of that silly stuff, right? So seems to only happen when it comes to us, and I find that really interesting and weird, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
land on that.
yeah. I don't know if you were here earlier. We had a young lady from the UK talking about how inspirational Michael Jackson was. Michael Jackson was like a global phenomenon to people. Like that's how iconic and inspirational Michael Jackson was. So this is why they keep trying to put, because it's not like they're making money, because people aren't even trying to see this stuff. The people, the few small haters who actually believe that, they're so few in numbers that these type of documentaries don't make money. Okay, but but the critics hate it for what reason? Okay, Leaving Neverland, the fans hated that. That didn't make no crazy amount of money. This, I can guarantee, if people are talking about canceling their Netflix, this is clearly not gonna make no money. All right, but yet they push it anyway because they would rather lose money and push a narrative than have Michael Jackson's truth be told.
Right. It's a humbling tactic. It's a humbling tactic. People got a little bit too excited. People felt, looked at Mike Tyson, it's Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, as someone and see him in the good light. No, we got to put a stain. And it's kind of what they've been doing with almost all the people that's of Black American lineage, that's kind of a superstar. They find some kind of stain to put on, to try to use as a humbling tactic. This is why I say again, we need to start creating our own movies, our own everything. This is why I personally have a cameraman. Well, he's a cinematographer, and he's going to be showing our people how to use the camera and stuff. He's worked on Avatar, a bunch of movies, and he's going to be showing people how to utilize the camera and everything, and how to do movie type films, so we can create our own. So yeah, we definitely going to start making that happen, fam. Because this is what they're doing. This is the lineage of evil, and this is all they're going to continue to do. And again, I don't understand why we talking about his family and we dig into the history when, again, we don't do that to nobody else. And it's a weird, that's not weird to y'all. Is it just
Yeah,
me?
They're
yeah.
trying to take him down.
Nobody. Hold on. Nobody talks about Miley Cyrus's father, Billy Ray Cyrus. You don't think he was strict on her when she was making TV shows and all that, and being a performer with the Hannah Montana thing? You
He
don't think
probably
that her
wasn't
father
hitting
was
her.
super strict on her? Like, come on. Like, let's be honest. When it comes to white fathers, they
And
can be strict and
And look at
praiseful.
how it
Black
affected
fathers,
her.
no.
and also not
Look at
also that.
Shiloh and Deion Sanders.
Hold on,
He
Torian.
never hit
What you got to
Shiloh.
say?
And not only that, talk about some of these fathers or these celebrity parents who literally be stealing their kids' fortune. That's what happened to Macaulay Culkin and why he got out of the industry, because his dad was one of them helicopter dads. He used to come onto the set. He was the one, as a matter of fact, the reason why we got those Home Alone movies is because his dad was basically being a diva. And that's why we got it, because he basically said, my son's going to get this, my son's going to get that, he's going to get this, he's going to get that. And that's why he actually left the industry as early as he did, because his dad was doing way too much. He would be coming up on the set, he would be getting directors' faces, he would be doing way too much, to the point where they didn't want to work with him anymore, because his dad was doing way too much to try to make his son become a millionaire so they can get them out of poverty. And the same, I guess you can also say the same thing with
Britney
even
Spears.
even Gary Coleman's parents, because if you know the story about Gary Coleman's parents, they literally were robbing their child blind all them years he was on different strokes.
Mm.
And this is my last thing, right? When it come down to this whole industry and just
Damn,
this
you got
movie
heck of
industry
chances
thing.
to talk.
Oh, he's a mod,
Shut up,
sir.
cause you've been done
Relax.
I only
talking. He's a
got
mod.
one.
Relax. Okay. We don't.
Talking to the host.
I'm
We
gonna
don't
be
want to hear
fair
you.
to you, but hold on. He gonna say this, then EJ's gonna say this. We got to be fair to everybody else and let them go ahead and say what they got to say. Foundation, you.
Yeah, no, go
Wait, you
ahead,
never
brother.
actually did answer that question about your ethnicity. You never did answer that.
So then,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you never answered that. Where your people
I
originally
got my
from?
people from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I got family in Tennessee. Come on, man.
I'm just asking.
Where in Tennessee?
Chattanooga.
Okay. Well, you can finish Foundation, then we'll get to EJ.
Yeah, so no, I was gonna say we gotta understand that chastising your child is that's not specific to a color. That was the energy of back in the day. I think that's what we gotta understand, right? So everyone chastised their child in a certain manner. Everyone got their little beatings, and that's what it was. That's the things that they did back in the day. Now people are moving forward to, of course, it's going to be some discipline, but maybe not to the levels of what it was back in the day, right? So when people try to make it seem like, well, it was the black fathers that was, I mean, he was scary and he was such a big monster with 6 arms. Y'all gotta stop playing. Y'all gotta stop playing because y'all sounded just like the white tee. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Y'all sound crazy up here. He was so scary and oh my God, you should have. Are you serious? Y'all sound not y'all because not for nothing. The brother up there, up above me, sound crazy. He sound like the white tee. So again, we gotta understand that's the energy of back in the day. They chastise and sometimes it went a little far, and that's what it was. But again, that's what the times of that time, and it was not specific to a color. That was the energy of just the environment in general. So I just want that to be clear because the way people try to paint it out to be as if he is such a bad person that did no. He's doing what everybody else was doing because that was socially acceptable during that time, and that's what it was. He just happened to have the spotlight. That's the difference. If everybody else had the spotlight, they'll be the same thing. So we're not going to see it play that game, and make him look like a monster with 6 arms.
All right, let's get to EJ. Yeah, that's true. EJ,
What's up with you, brother? How y'all doing?
good.
I'm gonna say this about Joe Jackson and his discipline of his children. That is light work compared to some of these kids and some of these other folks, lineage in their backgrounds. Because I done seen some things in some other countries that if you do something wrong around your parents, they will go to certain levels that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. But besides that, I do want to talk about this garbage ass Netflix, situation they trying to put out on our brother Michael Jackson. As you can remember, the whole cutie situation that happened a few years back. I never subscribed to Netflix. They always been like real controversial and real disingenuous when it comes to doing like documentaries about certain people, especially people within our community. And this is just another slander tactic that they trying to put on our late great brother Michael Jackson, because he's out here still breaking records, still out here selling records. No matter how many times y'all try to disdain this brother's name and try to put dirt on this man's legacy, he is an icon that will never be made again. You just had this cornball Drake by one of his gloves, and he's trying to do that whole YT supremacy stuff with our brother Michael Jackson's gloves and stuff. All these people, even when they hating on Michael Jackson, they cannot fathom him not being anything but an iconic figure. And I wanted to come up here earlier when that Mayonnaise Warrior was up here trying to critique our brother in the movie and stuff, because I haven't seen it yet. I'm still looking at the Jackson's American I forgot what it was called back in the 90s, because I think it came out in 93, the Jackson's Family American Dream. I always look at that all the time because this properly showed you the rise in the trials and tribulations of not only the Jackson 5 but like Michael Jackson going solo. It showed Joe Jackson when he got started in the beginning of his life with him marrying his wife, raising kids. And hey man, all of us had that problem when it came to some of our parents, disciplining us. I really thank my parents for disciplining me, because no telling where I would have been at right now when it comes to not, disciplining your kids or even telling them right from wrong. Maybe some things that he did to the kids was, a little bit extreme, but you got to understand certain errors of disciplining your kids, especially back in those days under civil rights, segregation and stuff. You had to be hard on your kids like that during that era, because they can end up being in gangs, being in trouble, especially around that time in Gary, Indiana, because it was real hard for those brothers and sisters out there dealing with those YT folks. You got to work for these folks. You got to come home. Then you got to deal with your kids. You already getting the belt to ass treatment with your YT bosses and stuff. So, he raised his kids the best way he could. And plus, he was a musician. So Michael Jackson got that musical talent from, not only his father, but possibly his mother, because they definitely influenced him, not only with his music, but, with the trying to come up with the words to say. clogging my mind. But basically, man, this is just another slander. The reason they're really trying to throw dirt on Michael Jackson's name to this day is because that Beatles catalog. I think if he would have never bought that Beatles catalog, they wouldn't even be messing with him like that. But that just goes to show you that they don't want a black man to own anything or even have a business mindset. They wouldn't have been going after this brother, putting this slander on this, brother when it comes to the kids and stuff. If he didn't have, 50% ownership of Sony, if he didn't have all these, musical catalogs of these iconic, artists. So I think these YT supremacists are still butthurt of the brother still making bank and still breaking records. No matter how many times y'all try to make, other groups of people the king of this, the king of that, there's only one icon, and that is, Michael Jackson, aka Mr. Thriller. But with that being said, I'll land my plane.
Yep, appreciate that. Yeah, for real. All right, we're gonna get to, how do you,
T Sizzle.
T Sizzle. All right, T Sizzle.
So the thing with Joe Jackson is that when you look at Gary, Indiana, and he got the whole family out. Gary, Indiana only have like factories. It's like it's not even especially at that time. It wasn't no 4-year university. You would have to leave. You would have to go to Indiana State or go up to Chicago. Like if you as a dad, anybody who got kids, and he had what 7, 8 of them. He was like, all y'all motherfuckers gonna be something. And for him to do that, we may disagree with how he did it, but the outcome is like, whoa, Michael, and then followed up with Janet. I mean, this is big. And then the other thing you gotta remember is that Michael owned his masters, the Beatles masters, and Elvis masters. I mean, that's major. You know what I'm saying? As far as ownership, as much as they sell, he was always getting paid. So Mike is like, when people compare him, especially for my age group, I'm 49. This mother, hey, I ain't seen nobody pass out over Drake. People was
Yeah.
passing out. He had to do a stadium tour. He had to do stadiums for like 10, 15 years. He couldn't do no regular arena. So like, as far
That's
as I'm like,
true.
Mike, he there. I get speechless because I grew up when he was doing his thing. It was Michael Jackson, the Pope, and the President. That I mean, this is before the internet. You know what I'm saying? Mike was like the man. He'd just stand there for like 2-3 minutes, and people just start fainting. They got it on tape. So like, as far as comparing to him, you can't. He's iconic, and I don't have nothing but respect for Joe Jackson, because these three motherfucking kids I got, he did it like 9, and he did it out of Gary, Indiana, where it's nothing. That's major. Right, I'm landing in LAX.
Hmm. I remember some years ago on Twitter. I'm gonna say this and move on. Some years ago on Twitter, when it was, I guess Taylor Swift reached $1 billion. She was technically a billionaire, and they was all like, Taylor Swift beat Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson wasn't a billionaire. Taylor Swift beat Michael Jackson. I posted that clip of Michael Jackson, that famous clip that everybody knows,
I know
everybody's
what you're
seen, with
talking about.
Michael Jackson standing there, and he's just standing there looking to the side, and people are like melting, screaming. Security's trying to hold them back. He turned his head, people dropping to the ground. I'm talking about people being carried over a crowd. People are like literally unconscious. Several people are unconscious just because he moved. Just because he moved his head. I said, there's nobody alive that could do this. Like, that is insane. And before the internet.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Cause I
Afro,
got the
but
Thriller
I
album on 8 track. You ain't never seen nobody like that have his album on 8 track. That's how much I'm a fan of Michael Jackson. Cause I collect physical music, and I always will keep buying copies on vinyl of Thriller. Cause it's just such an iconic album when it comes to Black American history and our music and stuff. And I suggest everybody start getting into music and start off with some of Michael Jackson's discography too, just for
Yeah.
Well,
history.
you got to understand, Michael Jackson hated Thriller.
Okay, we just what? Okay, Torian, what'd you have to add?
well, since someone mentioned his discography, before I get into my main point, is a lot of people, I don't know, for some reason, still think that Off the Wall was Michael Jackson's first solo album. It was
Oh,
not his first solo
Right,
album. That was like his fifth solo album.
right.
He had Got to Be There was his first solo album as a, understand something. This was a little boy sounding like a grown man singing love songs that had little girls his age going crazy and grown women going crazy. I said, if y'all really want to get into this discography as a solo artist, start there and then work your way up. Because the vocal range that boy had on at that age is better than some people who have it, who are singing now at a grown age. Like,
Mm.
really, really understand this. This boy was like,
Way
and then on
better.
top of that, he was singing. This boy recorded like 2 or 3 albums in 1 year, just so they can get his voice still at its youthful stage before he went through the puberty change and his voice started to crack. So they kept Michael, and Michael practically lived in that studio as a child. Like, that's pretty much all he did was sing. But to my other point, I don't know if y'all have seen the clips on social media, but when people was watching this movie, especially for those who had fan events or they rented out the theater to watch this movie, people were turning this into a concert. I don't know if y'all have seen the clips online, but especially at the end, and it's kind of like a spoiler, the end ends with him doing the bad tour. I was looking at clips online and people were literally jumping up and down in their seats like they was actually at the bad tour. Like, because a lot of the people like myself who weren't alive to experience that or even experience a Michael Jackson concert, that's as close to it as we were going to get. So yeah, it's now another generation that's coming in. As you can see, he's getting a resurgence with his music, which I knew for a fact was going to happen. I mean, it was no doubt in my mind when I first heard they was making this movie. I said, "Oh, his music is going to get a resurgence." There's going to be another generation who wasn't even born when he was around in his prime or even later on in life. People who were born way after he passed, well, after his death, and they are now huge fans. Unborn children know who Michael Jackson is. They listen, that's it. Babies are not going to just simply be born. They're going to be moonwalking out the womb.
Man, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. Because it was hard for me to stay in the seat. Some of those because I've seen a lot of Michael Jackson impersonators, and I was kind of worried. I'm like, man, I hope he don't come off as just another Michael Jackson impersonator. But the way he was moving and dancing, I'm like, it was hard for me to stay in my seat. It was hard for me
you
to
know,
stay
with
in
your
my
Thriller
seat.
jacket on,
His
Afro
nephew,
moonwalker, I can see you now.
his nephew did him justice. Let's get to Professor Alon.
You skipped me.
I'm
You man,
you spoke though. So
Every
go.
skip. Okay, well,
Yeah, they skipped me. Did you
I'm gonna
mean
let
to,
you go
Afro?
ahead, man.
Your
But hold on.
initial, after I got
god
it,
damn,
Black
dude.
Energy, you had your initial submission. Now Professor gets to go, and if there's time, we'll have an open panel. But there's 2 new people, 3 new people on the panel. You got to wait
But
it
I've been
out.
waiting
Go
before.
ahead,
But
Take
Professor.
your
you
time,
Keep
man.
said
Go,
interrupting.
no.
Professor
Don't do
Allen.
that.
You can
Don't
wait.
do
Be
that.
patient, sir.
You did
That
say
ain't
Yeah,
that,
right.
so it's not like you
Everybody
haven't
been
spoken at
speaking.
all.
Patient, Negro. Be patient.
Okay, hold on, Professor. You got it.
yeah. I'm gonna use the gentleman. No disrespect to him, but I'm gonna use him as an example of why they're attacking Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson, was a masculine man who played his role in a household, and I'm not saying he was perfect, but he raised kids and he stayed as a foundation and a rule maker, a regulator, which is what a father's supposed to do inside the family unit, thereby creating strong children. And a lot of our men now don't have that. or didn't have that type of family upbringing, and it makes emotional men that are just, whiny and complaining. We see it on Spaces all the time. I encountered it in real life. I'm really concerned about society, the way these men are. We complain about women, but men, I don't know what to say. But what I'm saying in essence is the likeness of Joe Jackson, his structure and his family had to be attacked by the media because they didn't want the rest of us to replicate the structure that Joe Jackson implemented on his family, because we would be creating a lot of Michaels. I mean, the Joe Jackson story can be looked at with the Venus and Serena Williams, a strong black man in the household in tandem to a strong black woman working together create superstars. You know what I'm saying? So I came on because I heard you say y'all were begging the question, why did they attack the family structure? Why did they attack Michael Jackson's father? Wasn't really an attack on them. It was an attack on the black family, which is still being attacked. You know what I'm saying? Um, I haven't seen the documentary yet, nor have I seen the movie, but I plan on seeing it. I just got my little vacation from work, so I'm gonna check it out. I'm not sure if I was alive. If I was alive, I was too young to go see Michael Jackson, but I do remember the impact in the early 90s that he had on American culture. And I watched how they demonized him. And as somebody said earlier, yes, it was about his business structure that he learned from a strong black father, which is a threat to American and European society.
Yeah. The documentary hasn't come out yet. The documentary's coming out like next week. It's coming out on the 3rd. So the documentary hasn't come out, but they have released the information that they are going to be, pushing that. So they are promoting that. And that's what a lot of people saying. They don't even want it to come out. I don't plan on seeing it if it does actually come out, but they don't even want it to come out. Now, Black Energy. Now that you've been listening to what we've been saying, do you have any change of thought or opinion?
I was hoping you guys would see the fallacy in yours.
How so?
Michael Jackson would have even made a greater impact if he wasn't being terrorized by his father.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
Shiloh
Okay.
Sanders. Shiloh Sanders and Deion Sanders is a perfect example of a black father. Like, if you watch their old shows, he would tell them, I'm not going to hit you. He did that with Boogie, his older son, and he never hit Shiloh or the quarterback, whatever the other name is.
And are they
And they're strong, upright
can I
men.
ask you, and are they as big as Michael Jackson? Because what you're stating is
Different
that
lanes.
Michael Jackson, hold on, sir. What you're stating is that Michael Jackson would be way bigger, way more
Yeah.
successful, way more impactful music, and yet there is nobody in any range,
He might still
in
be
any
alive, too.
demographic that is on par with Michael Jackson, where you can say that that's the equivalent of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, like he might still be alive too. He wouldn't have so many mental issues, with himself. His insecurities stem from his father, right? Because of how he was being beaten. You know how it is when you're being beaten. It's like your soul is like, you think you know better. Like, you know how your parents be like, sometimes they be mad. Sometimes you get beat for no reason.
Dude, what are you talking
Okay,
about?
so Michael Jackson's father, Joe Jackson, should have just kind of like hugged him and coddled him and all of that.
No. He should have been like more like a loving father, somebody who didn't
Do you think
He
that,
somebody
let
didn't
was.
who
me ask you
didn't
a
beat their
question.
son.
Do you think that Michael Jackson's father, Joe, do you think that he didn't love Michael?
He
Do
didn't
you
love
think
Michael
that
more than
Joe did
himself.
not
Not
love
more
his
than
son?
himself. He didn't love him more than himself, no.
Okay, well, if
Like how you're
that's the
supposed
case,
to love a child.
hold on. If that's the case, then, because his father was by his side when Michael needed him the most, when his father had nothing to gain. Michael Jackson was long past the Jackson 5. He wasn't doing tours with his family anymore. He wasn't under his father's roof. His father wasn't making money off of him. He was his own independent man. And Joe Jackson was still by his son's side. Okay. He mourned for his son when his son passed away. And Michael even said himself that he knows his father loved him. He just went too hard. So you're saying that you feel that Joe didn't love Michael, but Michael felt like Joe loved
No,
him.
I said Michael. I said Joe didn't love Michael as much as he loved himself. He was selfish with his love. His love was toxic. Again, it wasn't a healthy love. That's why he resented his father. That's why they had a broken relationship. That's why he went to these music executives and created new deals, because he didn't trust his father. He couldn't
Michael,
love him properly.
like all young
It
men,
shouldn't have been like that,
no young man wants to stay in the shadow of his father.
especially an
Every
abusive one.
every single young
Yeah.
man, every man. It doesn't matter how quote unquote abusive, how loving, how gentle, how everything. Every man needs to leave the nest.
Of course. And he wasn't prepared to leave the nest. He had
Hold
mental
on,
issues.
man, hold on.
A
Every
real father
person,
prepares his son to leave the nest.
sir, calm down. Every adult needs to eventually branch out and leave the nest, but especially men need to eventually branch out and leave the nest. That
Well,
was going to happen regardless.
I want to quickly.
That was going to happen regardless.
Right, but it's
Afro,
the father's
hold on
responsibility
one
to make
second,
sure that when you do leave the nest, you're
Afro, I
prepared.
want to say
Michael
Okay,
got taken
this
advantage
makes.
of. He got
okay,
put on pills.
hold on, sir.
His mental health went
Hold
down the
on,
hill.
sir.
Shut up, Professor Allen want to
Okay,
say
he was
something.
He
Yeah,
wasn't prepared for the world.
this guy, this
Your
black.
goofy ass up, Professor Allen
hold,
want to talk.
Yeah, this black energy guy is an example of what happens when you don't have a masculine man at home. You got a dude all up in his feelings, sounding like a hood rat. So, black
A
men,
hood
stay in
rat,
the
huh?
home and raise your children. Raise your male children. I thank God for my daddy and my uncles,
Of
because
course.
we have an epidemic of weak black father figures walking around, and
But I'm
he's
not
evidence
gonna hit
of
my children. That's what I'm not gonna do. That's not
Okay, let me ask you this.
a
If
key
you're not gonna,
genetic term for a
let's say
strong
this,
father is hitting your children.
let's say this. Let me ask you this
They
before we
don't
move
never
on, because
learn.
we gotta wrap it up. Hold on. You gotta come on. If you come up, you gotta hit the mute. Let me ask you this: what form of discipline? Where's the line drawn between abuse and discipline? Where's that line drawn to you?
When you're hitting your child, when you're striking your child, that's abuse.
So any type of hitting. So if your kid is grabbing some candy out the store and you just tap their wrist, that's abuse.
No, I said when you strike your child.
Well, is that not striking? If you did
No,
that to
you're
another
talking
person,
about
that would be
you just
considered
said
striking.
tapping. You just said you tapped them. That's not striking.
If somebody grab, okay, a tap it and a strike. Okay, wow, now we're playing semantics.
You said tap. I said strike. That's why I said it's
Okay, if
different.
you strike your child, if you pat your
Right, that's
you
wrong.
strike your
That's
child on the
wrong.
butt.
That ain't right.
Okay, if you grab their wrist and you hit your child's hand to tell them to stop, is that abuse?
Again, striking your child is never right. Period.
Okay, so if a 3-year-old is playing with an outlet again and again, and you grab it and you say, "Stop doing that. Don't do it again," I abuse that child.
That's not, yeah, exactly. You basically used a barbaric method of teaching your child to stay away from the electric outlet. That's what you did.
Really?
And
Okay.
they're probably less likely to understand what you the communication style. And then if you used a better communication style, which there are available options.
Okay. Okay.
Then since you
That,
know so
okay.
much,
That's okay. I know your definition of abuse. Try not to. Okay. All right. Fine. So, am I supposed to take this child and put them in this 3-year-old? Because we agreed that the child is 3 years old and all they know to do is play. They play with stoves and outlets and dangerous stuff because all they do is play. Fine. I'm supposed to put them in therapy, or I'm supposed to have a TED talk with them about electricity and the dangers of electrocution. Like what method would not be abusive?
Therapy.
you can't afford therapy anyway.
What method would not be abusive in your opinion?
I don't know. Timeout. Timeout's effective. Talking to them is effective.
Talking to
This
them
dude
is
don't know
effective.
what he's talking about.
Like there's other forms of discipline besides hitting them. Does that make
But
sense?
hold on, but
Use
what if
any form of
what if
discipline,
hold on, let me ask you
and
this
it's probably
question.
a little bit better
What
than
if
smacking them in the face.
hold on, because
You
I'm
shut
making a
up.
point with this. What if somebody is to say putting your kid in a timeout is abusive?
I would argue it's not physically abusive.
What does it have to be? Okay, see, I'm making a point. Does it have
Yeah.
to be physical to be abusive?
No, absolutely not. If you put
Okay.
your kid on timeout
So
for
hold
48
on.
hours, that's abusive.
So hold on. You're saying that there's a form of abuse, even though it's not physical, that can, if it is overdone, can be abusive, but by itself is not abusive. Are you agreeing to that?
Yeah, like timeout for 15 minutes is different from
Okay, if
timeout
a
for 7
timeout for
weeks.
15 minutes is not abusive, but a timeout for 15 hours is abusive, then there is a range between it being abusive and not abusive. But the act in and of itself is not abuse. Correct. You're conceding to that, right?
But the range is clear. 7 days
No, the
is
range isn't clear. No, it's not.
that's
It's not.
The
It's
abusive.
not
damn question, you
predefined.
That's
idiot.
It's not clear.
pretty.
Hold
That's
on.
pretty like clear,
No,
right?
it's not clear. Because who's to say
You don't
15
think
minutes
7
isn't
days is
abusive?
too
That's
much?
just your no. That's your opinion. You're saying it's clear. It's not.
7 days is too much for timeout for a 4-year-old, bro.
Okay.
Must know from
Nobody.
experience.
Not now. You're exaggerating.
No, that's the example
Ultimately,
we
no,
talked
no.
about.
Okay. Now you're doing this. You're showing that you've lost the point. All right. Because what I'm saying is that discipline, the form of discipline you're calling abuse, it necessarily is not. If it's overdone, yeah, it can be. But taking your child's hand and tapping it on the wrist is not abuse at all.
I said
Because
we shouldn't strike our children,
if
period.
that's the case with that logic, and I want people to understand the logic of the people who say stuff like
And
this.
that's not what Joe
With
Jackson
that,
was
sir,
doing.
that's enough.
So
Sir,
you're
that's
going
enough.
against the point.
That's
Bro,
enough,
can
sir.
you shut up,
That's
man?
enough.
Joe Jackson was full on beating
Okay,
these kids.
that is
Your
enough.
zesty
That's
ass.
enough. All right. With that logic, any form of telling them what to do at all can be defined as abuse. Any
What?
form of telling them what to do, telling them they have to be home at a certain time, that's abuse. Telling them what they can watch, what they can't watch, what they can eat, what they can't eat. With that type of logic, anything and everything is abuse. You can find a way to make anything
By
and
saying
everything abusive.
striking people is
And this is
abuse,
why,
you're saying that
stop,
everything is
stop,
abuse.
stop, have some discipline.
Let me just try.
You probably needed a Joe Jackson father in your life. How undisciplined you
Real
are.
Say it again.
bad.
Say it
Okay.
again.
You know he need a switch.
That's
I want
crazy.
everybody to understand the people who oh, that's abusive, that's abusive, that's abusive. See how unemotionally regulated they are. Okay, and undisciplined they are.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, people who get hit during their childhood are better emotionally regulated. Is that what you're saying?
I was hit in my childhood, and I'm better emotionally regulated than you. So I mean,
So you're, so that's your
clearly,
point.
everybody else was kind of whooped at least a little bit, and everybody else, you have been, besides a white man, you have been the most unhinged person here.
So you think black kids who get hit don't become unhinged? That's what you think?
Nobody said that.
Well, Afro, I wanted to add something,
Words in
bro.
his
Okay,
mouth.
but
I
we'll
want to
get to
add
that.
something.
Then we'll get to Red Hills.
I want to add something
Yes,
real quick.
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I going next
Oh,
or
am I
is?
Hold
talking
on,
already?
let's let Professor go ahead. Then
Yes,
we'll
I'm
go to Red.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my bad too, ma'am. I just want to say this is such a teachable moment, Afro, because this is all done by design. I have a master. I hate talking about degrees, but I have a degree in educational psychology. And what the system has done has demonized men, particularly black men, from regulating their household. Children are calling the police on their fathers now. And what that leads to, and I want y'all to follow me, is second elementary school children and high school children do not get punished at home. They're calling the police on their mamas now. You know what I'm saying? So they go through school, their teachers can't suspend them. They're running wild and they get away with everything. Y'all can't tell y'all the things I've seen kids get away with. And when they turn 18, you give them a diploma and you put them on the street, and they carry that same attitude in the street. And what happens to them in the street? They go to jail, and they feed a prison industrial complex. It's by design. And this, I don't know if I can cuss on your stage, but this fool up here is part of. He feeding the machine. My question to him is: does he think it's abusive for the police to kick you around and throw you in handcuffs and throw you on the ground? Is that abusive? I'll land my plane.
All right. See, it's gonna happen. Come on, we have to instill that discipline early on. Let's get to Red Hills.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? Thank you for having me on your podcast tonight. Though I just want to say what's missing with a lot of these kids nowadays is just that they need a Joe Jackson. I remember one interview Joe Jackson did, I think about 10 years ago, when he said that all his kids graduated from high school and none of them was arrested. He grew up in an era where he had to have some form of, heavy discipline to make sure that his children did not go out there in the streets. Black men and black women are damned if they do and damned if they don't. I applaud Joe Jackson every time I hear anybody talking bad about him. I stand up and I tell them that Joe Jackson is our hero. He raised Michael Jackson, the Jackson Fives, and all those girls. He was with his wife. He may not have been perfect, but no man is perfect. But to raise all those kids in that era, and he stayed in that household, in that 3-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana, and to do what he did, and to give us what America will never get again. I applaud this man. And I think that us as black people, we have to be very, very careful when we criticize our black men like Joe Jackson. Because like Professor Allen said, it's an orchestrated, calculated campaign that's in place across the world to dehumanize our black men. Understand what I'm saying? Though, to make it where, okay, you know what I'm saying? If you fear your father, you're supposed to fear your father. That way your ass will stay in line. You know what I'm saying? Though, my mother and father made 13 kids though. And I'm telling you right now, I knew my mother yelled at me, but when I knew my daddy came home because he was military style, I was like, oh shoot, I was scared, but I never got in no trouble because he put that fear in me. These kids don't fear nothing nowadays, and they need a Joe Jackson though. And I'll land my plane right there. You got a great live, BX. I'm telling you, you're a great mod. You guys are so good. Every time I'm driving, I'm listening to you guys. My kids be like, oh my God, mom. Yes, y'all need to listen to this though. So great live and nothing but love and respect. But these kids need a Joe Jackson. That's what's wrong. That's why they holding hands with the wrong
We need a
whatever. You
Deion
know what I'm saying? They
Sanders.
just doing all kind of crazy
Just
stuff.
shut up and be
And
quiet. He's
and
talking. See
We
the
need a
and
Deion
also
interruptions.
too,
Sanders.
you know what it is though? Can I just say
Hey
Stop,
something
man.
dude.
to that? Wait,
And
wait,
your
let me just
lack
say
of
something.
discipline. Can
That
you let the
right, you know
woman
this
speak, please?
to that
Please.
brother right there though, it's a waste of saliva trying to change someone's perspective or mind like that. He know deep down inside that if it wasn't for Joe Jackson, it wouldn't be no Jackson 5. What happened to Michael was, especially later in his career, he started to see what Sony did to him. I guarantee you, he started to think about, oh my God, now I understand my blackness. See what it is though, he was morphed into that whiteness. He thought that he wanted to be like them, not realizing that they wanted to be like him. You understand what I'm saying? Though he forgot to understand that he's really the born to stand out. You can't be
Right.
like
His
them and they
father
can't be
didn't
like you.
teach him it. His
Wait, just
father
All
did
mute,
right,
not
just
teach
Not
him
in
mute,
the
it.
energy,
mute,
man.
I
You're
Mute
mute,
your
right.
mic,
mute,
man.
mute,
that's just enough
mute.
from you.
Yeah, it is. And what I
He's
want to say,
sassy.
Joe Jackson, he and Joe Jackson and Katherine Jackson instilled everything they can into those children. Those children were good while they was growing up. If it wasn't for their discipline and what they produced in that household, we would not have the music industry that we have nowadays. I think that what happened with Michael, he wanted to be part of something that really wanted to be part of him. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that Joe Jackson was strict, but we need that. You raising boys, you can't throw a dowel at a boy. You got to throw a hard football. You want your boy to grow up like a boy. You know what I'm saying? I love a strict black man like my husband when he's strict with all 7 of our boys. No, take him out in the back and throw that football at him. No, you discipline him out there. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I stay my ass in the house and watch him discipline those boys because I want them to grow up and bring a woman home and some kids home. You don't discipline them, they start wearing lipstick, and I'm mute.
All right, and I want to quickly say that damn fool didn't know what he's talking about. I know Deion Sanders. How? I taught at the sister school of Jack State when Deion was a coach there. And I don't tell people's business. That's not my style. But Deion had discipline in his household. So that sassy fool didn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He had a lot of glittery feminine energy coming from his talking points.
Yeah. Let's get because you don't get to that level of success without that. You literally don't. You can't get to that level of success with being all soft and, well, if you're touching the outlet, let me have a conversation. Do you understand what being burned means?
Right, right.
Like what? I said a 3-year-old, they ain't gonna listen to you talking to you. Hit their hand and that thing sting a little bit. They gonna think twice. Okay, they gonna know. Like, I remember what happened last time. That's what they remember. Not a therapy session. Not a TED talk. What are you gonna do?
What type
Okay,
of parents he had?
man, please. Omega, you got it.
Oh, that was for the
I got a
streets.
question. I just got a quick question. Do y'all really believe that Michael Jackson did them things?
No.
No, not at all.
Okay, because I didn't either. Like, I understand that people feel some sort of way with Michael being uh, portrayed as these things. Me personally, I feel like the whole canceling your Netflix thing is straight BS. Just don't watch the show. It's that simple.
You work for Netflix or something? Like, why you don't want
No,
nobody
no, no,
canceling
no.
your
It's not.
Netflix, man?
I do not work for Netflix. God forbid I ever work for Netflix. I'm just saying, if you really canceling all that, just don't watch it. It's that simple. I'm not saying I'm gonna watch it, but I'm just saying like I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson. I've always loved it. I watched the movie. I watched the movie and everything. I'm saying just don't watch it, please. Just don't watch
All
it.
right. Okay. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
Omega, you got it. We got Netflix
Afro, can I
employees
just say
up in
something
here.
before I leave? That guy Foundational that was on here, he said that he's in the process of helping people to do movies and stuff like that. I think that that's the problem though. For far too long, other people have controlled our narrative because they really never gave a damn about us. So I'm hoping to pray that he does do that though, because of the fact that that's what's needed. We need to control our narrative, and I'll mute.
Yeah, I agree. I agree fully. Omega, you got it.
All right, peace to the panel. B1.
Back first to you, brother.
B1.
Yeah, in terms of the dude that was just up there, I think like as men, it's our job to be disciplinarian and at the core of being a man, because the reason the world is led by men is because men are able to defend their position. You know what I'm saying? The position that you have on whatever issue that it may be. By you being able to do that, you have to be a threat. Like, men are supposed to be a threat. We're supposed to be able to defend whatever principle it is that we have on any issue. Now, in terms of the movie, I ain't watching that crap. If people want to, cancel the Netflix, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool. If you do watch it, give it a thumbs down. Let them know how you feel about it. That's my 2 cents, man. I land my plane. B1.
Back first to you, brother. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to say I understand about the whole being strict as a father thing and how that's needed, but do you really think you should be that strict to the point where your child can regurgitate around you to the point where he feels sick around you? I don't feel like you should get to that point. I feel like you have a certain definition of tough love, right? But I don't think that I didn't really see the love around Joseph. I just saw more toughness. So I
I
understand
think.
Michael still loved his father out of the way,
Hmm.
but you know,
Let me tell you what I think. Let me tell you what I think. I think Joe, and the movie kind of showed this a little bit too. I think Joe saw his life and he saw the ceiling. He was all like, "Look, I'm this old. I work at a factory. I'm not gonna make it to be no millionaire celebrity where I'm traveling the world and seeing this and seeing that." He knew his limits in life. However, he was determined not to let that happen to his kids. And I think that that's commendable. I don't think that Joe did it for himself. I think he did it so his kids wouldn't have to pretty much suffer what he had to suffer. Clocking in, working a 9 to 5, dealing with racist abuse and things like that. I mean, you can imagine what what Joe had to suffer. And I think that he didn't want that for his children. Now, are there aspects? Now, here's the thing: none of us were behind the scenes. Let's be honest. We don't have any like 4K footage of exactly how he was raised. Okay, let me be honest. Okay, we don't know. We know what they said happened, and if we take their word for it and say they're not exaggerating, we can say that some of that stuff went too far. And here's the thing: does anybody at all here, especially the ones who've had strict parents, can anybody say honestly that their parents did everything correct? Even if you love them or not, can anybody honestly say that their parents never did too much? never went too far, never was extreme in any aspect, in any circumstance. I don't think anybody can honestly say that their parents, yeah, like even looking back at it now, like, yeah, my parents probably didn't have to do all that. There were times when I was a teenager where I thought my parents did too much. And for years I thought, yeah, that was too far. And then later on I'm like, no, they probably had, I probably would have did the same thing in their position. And then there are still things now that I'm all like, yeah, they still did too much. And some of the stuff they acknowledged that they went too far with. But overall, I don't think that it was like a lack of love. I think he was really determined to see a better future for his kids. I honestly do think that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. To be completely honest, I also feel that way too. But at the same times, I felt like during the times when he was disciplining them, I don't really think he was feeling he was making them feel loved. You know, like and me personally, I don't really like thinking about some people saying that Michael wanted to be white because it's pretty obvious he didn't. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
my question is deep down is what can you do to a child that makes him get to that point right there, that photo at the bottom? Like what makes a child get to that point?
The photo at
What
the
makes
bottom
them
of one
so?
of the most famous men to ever live, like that point.
No, I'm saying like what makes your child get to the point where the media just starts making up lies that he wanted to do this and that?
Because he was one of the most famous people to ever live, and he was a powerful black foundational black American. That's what made the media do that. That's
Mm-hmm.
why. But
Okay.
let's move on though. Let's get to Jasmine and then we'll get to Ally and or
Okay.
Jasmine and then we'll get to help me and then
Uh, Happy Friday, everyone. Bia, Safro, Lee, Professor Allen. Like, I think I know most people up here. I want to say this about a few of the statements because I just kind of popped in and got like the tail end of final thoughts for some people. And I don't understand, one, the last thing. How did he get to that point? That point of what? Like, you're looking at this man as if he's not the pop king of the world. This is a black American man, and everything that he's always done has shown that. He's always bigging up us from Gary, Indiana. You guys are so silly, some of the people who are not from our lineage, that you think it's okay to sit here and make a mockery. I saw this goofy thing about Drake versus Michael the other day, and I'm sorry, that's kind of triggering me because in what freaking reality would you sit here with your goofy selves that are not foundational Black Americans, Sulani type Black American types, and sit here and compare freaking Drake, a half breed tether, to Michael Jackson? Um, Without me going off on a tangent, I want to at least say that last part. Yeah, so yes, that's Michael Jackson. There's no final verdict on him. We're paying attention to him while we have Epstein and all of his comrades and whatnot out here just being free, being disgusting, harming women, children, and animals, and all of the sorts. But we're over here digging up our ancestors' old like rumors and stuff like that. It gets to a point where it's just like just so disrespectful that it just has to be called out. It just has to be called out. So I'm not watching that freaking Netflix series.
mm-hmm.
We've heard the story over and over again. We come from a people who are always being harmed, no matter what reality, whether it's redlining, whether it is slavery, whether it is them actually schmomming us on our land and whatnot, doing experiments on us when it comes to the Tuskegee and medical apartheid issues that are going on. Um, I'm going to land here. I'm tired of them disrespecting our ancestors and our greats. And that is Michael Jackson, the king of pop. So I'm going to land there for a second. That's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I
Exactly.
just
Let's
wanted to
get to.
say,
Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir.
so I just wanted to say my bad. I misunderstood a little bit. You know, I do understand the story of Michael Jackson. It's just I feel like I misunderstood a little bit. You feel me? My
Okay,
bad.
okay, okay.
But yeah.
Let's get to. Let's get to help me. Help me, Rhonda. You got it. You can go ahead. Okay. Well, we'll do because it's almost 7 where I am, so we'll let everybody get like 1 minute, one final minute to kind of give their final thoughts. So I guess we'll go with you.
Hello?
Oh,
Oh,
help
I
me.
don't know.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you were not hearing me. I was doing a bunch of talking. Sorry. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say that our perspective of Michael Jackson through the media has been through a white liberal perspective, and it's the reason why Joe Jackson, as a father figure and as a human being, was so warped because white liberals and the white liberal media, they don't understand black masculinity or identity outside of tropes. So everyone has to fit a trope. The villain is their most popular and favorite trope. So the understanding of black masculinity and fatherhood was something that they could not understand. So all they needed to hear is that he was a strict father or that he hid his kids to turn him into a villain without explaining the background of him being from, yes, Gary, Indiana, Jim Crow era, 9 kids to raise, a job that didn't pay well in a tiny house, and seeing that his sons had the potential to make it out and becoming obsessed with escaping poverty. That's never a part of the narrative. It's only this awful, evil, villainous, even criminal black man. And then also with Michael, the criminalization of him is also rooted in the same sort of hatred, not only towards, as I mentioned, black masculinity, but black identity in general. You know, this obsession with turning him into a criminal started in the late 70s. Everything he did was met with suspicion, question marks. They would twist everything to make him seem perverted or strange. Regular life. You know, he would go to children's hospital and he would try to help the kids with treatments. So, for example, and then they'll turn it into him sleeping in a gas chamber, for example, which never happened. And it was in the 80s when James Baldwin wrote about this as early as 1985, saying that he hoped that Michael had the good sense to snatch his life out of the jaws of those who wanted to destroy him. And I don't think that he did or he was able to, because the level of conspiracy against him has been so intense. So, you know, I've been researching the allegations for the past 21 years. Because when I was an undergrad, it was during his trial in 2005, and I had to read the court transcripts. And the way the media reported on the trial versus what was going on in the court was day and night. And I knew that once he was cleared, because there's no way, based on what I was reading, he would not be cleared, the general public would be confused. And it fell on racial lines, where white Americans thought he was guilty and black Americans did not. And it goes back once again to black Americans being able to see through that white liberal framing, whereas white Americans bought into it.
Mm. Yep. There's a big attack on fatherhood in general, and they don't want that replicated. They don't. That's a good point. All right, let's let people get their final words in. So we'll go with what's your name? Naimir? Neymar. You get like 1 minute to finish or give your final point, your final talking point. And
For the movie?
yeah, on the documentary.
Okay. My final thoughts for it is that it's straight BS. That's my final thoughts for it. It's just straight BS. And what I don't understand is how could you put and Netflix knew what they was doing. After the Michael movie came out, they chose to put this out. And I feel like and they knew how some people might feel about it. And even though this man was proven to be innocent like 1,000 times, they still wanted to go ahead and keep saying there are still people out here who could have been alleged victims. There's still people out here who I don't know, like I still believe that they could have been like victims. And so this man was proven innocent like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
What more do you want? They can't even accept the truth. They can't even accept the fact that he's better than all of them. But yeah, that's my final thoughts.
All right then. EJ.
And Netflix, they trying to smell some money. Hopefully it burns and just, get away from them. Cause I ain't been messing with them. It's just that whole cutie situation with those. Well, y'all know about that. What Netflix put out, the little cutie stuff. It's just another plot to throw dirt on our brother Michael Jackson's name. Even in him passing away and getting to heaven and still rocking it up there, they'll just keep trying to throw dirt and just put all this negativity on our brother. But it just goes to show you what hurts you more will make you better in the end. And still to this day, Michael Jackson is still breaking records. He's still itching on all these other artists out here that's trying to get close to him, but they never will get close to Michael Jackson because there never will be another Michael Jackson. These people been trying to do it for years. Not to say that there isn't talent in other groups of people's communities, though, but, Michael Jackson was a one-in-a-kind person. I don't know anybody right now in the year 2026 that can stand on a stage and don't do nothing for 5 minutes without people throwing rotten tomatoes on stage without them singing. But this just goes to show you that a lot of these white supremacists hate to see a black person make it unless they controlling them, unless they buck dancing, unless they being puppets. Then they like you. And I'm glad that you kicked that suspected Tedder off earlier because he wasn't really saying nothing. He's bringing a lot of sugary feminine energy. And that ain't the kind of energy we need amongst our black American brothers and sisters. And hopefully he don't have any kids because with him being a father and him not disciplining his kids, we're looking at a lot of these suspected YT supremacist kids because how they be doing their children, and I wouldn't want that type of energy or that type of evilness upon our community. But with that being said, salute to Michael Jackson, rest in power. The haters gonna hate and keep doing what you do, Afro.
All right, appreciate that. All right, appreciate that. Help me. You wanna, since you're off your mic, you wanna say final words?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say that this Netflix documentary is another hit piece. One of the producers for the documentary is also the same producer from the Martin Bashir documentary from 2003. And then there's another one who worked with the director of Leaving Neverland from 2019. So it's the same group of people making the same hit pieces, and all of them are British. Because it's always the British journalists who are obsessed with these same tired documentaries. And for some reason, I don't know why these networks like Netflix and HBO keep buying these documentaries from these people, but they're never going to let it go until I guess these people die out and a new crop of journalists show up, and then we could finally get the truth. But yeah, no, I'm not watching it. It's the same people doing the same hit jobs.
Yeah.
And the people who truly
Like I
understand.
said, this is hold on. Like I said before, this is Leaving Neverland 2.0.
Yeah, same people.
Appreciate that. Let's get to Jasmine.
Yeah, so I like to piggyback off of that and everything that I've heard in my short time here because I had to just kind of connect the dots really quickly. But the first thing that I heard that was just utterly disrespectful is once again Michael Jackson. Let this man rest in peace. We love him. You cannot make us turn our back on him. We don't care. We don't care. Not only do we not care about your feelings about him, me personally, I can't speak for all of us. I feel the same way about how you guys treated Bill Cosby. I feel the same way about how you guys did R. Kelly, although albeit he has some things going on. But when we're comparing to the other people, the actual main people, the way they did Diddy with a freaking RICO charge, right? A freaking charge that these people, once again, going back to their redlining and all of the different adversities that we had to overcome being written into this Constitution, being the foundation of this country, they keep trying to play in our face with these rules, these rules. And what they do is they try to test the energy when it comes to us, what we'll accept and what we won't. What we will not accept is you coming at any of us. Personally, my own opinions again, you come for one of us, you're coming for all of us, because there's no reality where we're more disgusting than you guys. And I can prove that because you're fleeing over to our country, the number one country in the world. We're not fleeing to your disgusting country. So when it comes to, again, these, like she said, Help said, these hit pieces. She said it was the UK doing it. It's a few different people doing this. And I personally think when it comes to the political part of our movement, we got to start suing these people for putting out this imagery via the media. Of It's just kind of like harassment. It's also defamation of character. They got the world thinking that we could be played with, and I just personally don't appreciate that. But anyways, I'll land there.
Thank you. Thank
If I
you.
I
could
had to
just
come
jump in real quick.
earlier.
Okay.
Sometimes I keep
We're
coming at the
closing
end of your
down.
life.
We're closing
Yep.
down. I'm ready
Yep.
to go.
Let's get to
I'm
Professor
sorry,
Alon,
Nemo.
and
I'm
then
sorry.
Can I
yeah,
just please say one more thing, please?
that we got to get to Professor Alon.
I'm gonna be so quick with it.
Oh
I
yeah,
I believe you, but we got to get to Professor Alon.
yeah. Hey, family. Yeah. In conclusion, I want us to realize that there is an attack on the family. It's not an attack on men or women. It's an attack on both of us. It's a family structure, and there are those who say that there is a population control agenda. You understand? So you attack the family first by attacking the man, and that, like that gentleman that suspected tethered uh, Fruity Pebble dude that got kicked off. He was saying, well, I think that a man, he didn't love him enough. Well, a man's love is different than a woman's love. We're not the same. Does that mean a man is better than a woman? Absolutely not. But we are equals, but we have different roles. That's just a fact of science. In electricity, you have positive and negative. Is negative better than positive? No. But they both come together to create power. And that's what the family's about. And the family's under attack. It's just the man is hyperinflated because the first angle of attack is on the man. Once you destroy or hamper the man, the family's fair game. We've seen that in the black community where the men got damn near eliminated, and then the women have been programmed to engage in their own self-destruction. So, in conclusion, Michael Jackson is the king. We love Michael. May he rest in peace. His legacy can't get tarnished. It's an agenda to destroy his legacy, and I think we should boycott Netflix. That's just my opinion. Y'all have a good day. I enjoyed the panel.
Thank you,
Can I say
Professor.
one last
Yeah.
thing?
We got to wrap
Can I
up.
Oh,
say
I
this?
gotta go. We got to
Yeah,
wrap
we
up.
got to wrap up.
All
Got to
right.
wrap
oh,
up.
sorry. Okay.
Y'all make sure y'all go to For the Culture on YouTube. Y'all subscribe. If you guys are listening from For the Culture, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share all of that. So thank you all very much for that. BX, you got it.
Yeah. So I got to say this: no matter which side of the fence you fall on, discipline your kids, don't discipline your kids. This was a great live. I agreed with some points, and I didn't agree with others. But I'm just glad I didn't have to cut up. So I want to say thank you, super thank you to the guests in the chat and the family who interacted and kept it peace, kept it cool, and was respectful. Y'all didn't pay attention. Y'all pay attention to me any other time, but you didn't pay attention when I gave away a super fan subscription for 30 days. I said, hurry up, look at the upper left corner, first come, first serve. So I had to tag EJ in because I didn't want to tether to get it. I realized what I did, right? And EJ is now a super fan subscriber for the next 30 days. And if he chooses to renew it, it's on him. So you got to get some stickers, Afro. And we got to start doing at the end of the live, they can join, but not today.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some stickers. I'm gonna have to work on that this weekend.
Yeah, and so I gotta ask you, when's the next time you coming live on TikTok?
I want to come live tomorrow. That's what I want to do. Come live tomorrow.
What time?
It would probably be maybe around in the afternoonish time. Maybe a little bit later than we normally go. So
Okay, I'm going to tell you now because usually I comment in your inbox, but lately you haven't been paying attention to your inbox. So this was a great live. I really enjoyed myself, even if I was
Now
quiet.
you see how she just gonna put that out there like that. That wasn't necessary at all, but you see how she just, all right, okay,
BX, I'm
BX.
upset that I didn't get the
Oh,
super
she's
fan.
so
I didn't hear that
thorough
alley
too. Oh,
oop.
you ain't been looking at.
Like,
Oh,
did
You
I
came
okay.
miss
late,
that?
Jasmine. So
Okay, yeah, I did come at
let
the
this
very
be a
end.
lesson for Jasmine and everybody else. And I got, you know why I wasn't getting your notifications on time? I had it on personalized and not all. So get ahead to Afro's profile, click the little bell icon, and make sure that you have his notifications on all and not personalized or off completely. Because
That's true.
you missed the super fan giveaway, Jasmine. You came late.
Yep. But next time, y'all have a good night.